Hey everyone, and welcome to Mayfield and Friends, episode 31. Today I am with UIM, canonically known as Frank. How are you today?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. I am not excited to have to leave my house again today.
Yeah, what do you have to do later today?
I have to go to my parents' house, and that's never an enjoyable experience.
Oh man,
I'm
that's
just
funny.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I'm
They'll
sure.
be
I'm
gone
sure
when
a
I
lot of
get
people
there.
could relate.
So,
That's
Frank,
awesome.
what kind of account do you play? What do people know you for?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say, well, I'm a UIM level 3 skill peer, one Slayer for life for now at least. But that's my main account. I have a combat account that's called normal with spaces as well. That's like a normal account. I don't really use it more than alting. And I did start a hardcore called Leonidas recently, but my main is UIM.
Awesome. And so what drove you to like the level 3 UIM game mode? It's a very niche game mode for those who don't have never seen your channel before. You also do YouTube videos on the account style, mostly like pertaining towards the guides in the beginning, but I know you've done a lot of updates and rambles here and there too.
Yeah. Been a lot of content. Like, not even all my content is on my YouTube because I've probably archived a lot of stuff over the years. But yeah, it's a great question, man. I mean, well, technically, I in pre EOC days of I've been playing since RuneScape Classic. I think I was the first 50 in the first 50 people to make a RuneScape account, or like top 60 or something like that on that 1K list. So I've been playing since I was like in sixth grade, um, the entire game. But I was mainly into PKing, like pretty much everybody else during the early years, and then I became a skiller. And so then once I became a skiller, I pretty much did that. I still played my PK accounts of like multiple different builds, Max Zerker, Max One Def Pure, all of that. And then yeah, and then I quit in 2008. So when summoning came out, I was really excited about it because, like, I think when you got 99 summoning, there was like a blue dragon pet, and I thought that that was like the coolest thing because I had always wanted pets in the game, and they kind of released it through summoning at least originally. So that's when I quit though because I noticed the combat level changed, and I didn't like that in Edgeville, which was like the real live PK location for the most part,
Mhm.
other than Deep Wilderness PKing. But I was mainly in Edge, and so yeah, that's when I decided like I'm not going to play the game anymore. And then when Old School came back out, I went actually not towards the skiller route initially, but then eventually I just started playing skillers, pretty much only exclusively skillers for since Old School released. And then eventually the Iron Man mode came out. And I think I did have a couple of Iron level 3s, or like one Iron level 3 with 83 Hunter at one point, and then that wasn't as appealing to me, like the pure Iron Man mode. But Ultimate Iron Man, I was inspired by Leveler Thrust. I know you know who he is. The first
Yep.
UIM level 3 to max. Also the first Iron level 3 to get 99 Herblore, which is cool because he was a UIM as well. The Leveler Thrust was my real motivation. Most people would say probably Navis, like they knew Navis in his account because he was the main person producing content for that mode at the time, which was really new. But Leveler Thrust was like the original true OG to me. I think even Navis learned a lot of stuff from Leveler Thrust. And yeah, I once I met him, he was really friendly, would talk all the time, and he was really helpful. Like, he didn't have his private off all the time. So I could actually talk to him and ask him questions. And then yeah, once I started a UM level 3, this isn't my first one, but once I started that, it was like nothing else could compare.
It's a very like interesting way to play the game. And I remember seeing Leveler Thrust. He came back for like a little bit of time recently. I saw him log in for like a couple months last year, I think.
Yeah, that man is, once he maxed, he did some post XP. But the thing about Leveler Thrust most people don't know is he has like a regular Iron Combat account that's pretty much, I think, maxed at this point. It definitely has max cape, I would think. And he does a lot of PVM and other things too. So I think what happened is after he was max as a UIM and his Iron was pretty far, he just started playing that account more anyways. And
Mm-hmm.
then I know from like a game he actually loved to switch to was Arc. And so he was like a min maxer of Arc. And Yeah, that's why like the whole leveler thrust as a name. A lot of people think it says Mister Thrust or something like that. I forget.
I've never heard anybody say that.
Yeah, they think because like the way that it's spelled, like the LVL looks like an M, but
Oh.
like Mister Thrust or something. I don't know, but yeah, no, that's because he's really good at arc. Um, but yeah, that's why I think mainly he doesn't play the UIM level 3. Plus, I mean, he was just doing Redwoods, which is really AFK, so he could do other stuff. And I think he probably just eventually was like, I don't really need to push this. There aren't very many max level 3s that are UIM in the game.
Yeah, there's what I mean, if you count min level Skilla, you've got well, ones that are
You definitely
currently
have to count min level skiller, that's for sure. Yeah.
yeah, well, ones that are currently active and are not because like you could say Rez, but he obviously is not level 3 anymore.
Yeah, 10 HP.
So you got level thrust, min level Skilla, hour, and then there's a couple more that are getting close. I think
Void Lords is getting close. I
I
know
can't get over
Runduke is
his
getting close.
I can't get over his new name.
Yeah, you like Void Warlords.
It was way better.
Oh, dude, I convinced him to Void Lords. I like Void Lords more, but I know the reason why his name was Void Warlords. Do you know why?
No.
So the reason why is because he actually was like a top parser in WoW and Classic, and the lore in the World of Warcraft, the Warcraft universe, I should say, is like the Void, and so he couldn't get like Void Lord with no plural originally, and he's had different like names in the past of like combinations of that. So like Void Warlords was a big thing. So when we were looking at his name, I'm like, dude, you could get Void Lords. It's even shorter and it's even more accurate to what like his actual original reason why he chose his name.
Yeah.
And he's had it like different variations of it. So he's not like super, oh, it has to be this one. And I was like, dude, that's really cool. You could get Void Lords. Like it would be awesome if he could get just straight Void Lord, because that would be perfect for his account in terms of who he is. But he's literally a legend. But yeah, he's really close. He also isn't just the kind that's just going like for max. I would say he has, in my opinion, probably one of the best level 3 UIMs in the game, if not the best, in my opinion, from what I personally would want in my own account.
I think just with when it comes to like post XP, I think Hour is just so far ahead of everybody at this point.
Oh yeah, Hour's a friend of mine. He's a machine. He's a really cool, down to earth guy. Have so much respect for him. Watch his whole max grind, his OSAT grind. But yeah, he's definitely, and there could have been some competition there, but some people quit, like Sam Hyde quit. Obviously that changed some things, but yeah, Hour's account, if you're looking for like the EHP efficiency, like fully as the goal, he's really far. I'd say the reason I say Void Lords is like my number one is because he's a collectionist. So he has like a completionist, I should say. So he has everything. He has everything from every leagues. He's gone for like everything that you could possibly collect as a level 3 as well. So his account kind of embodies what I like doing with mine, which is not just efficiently getting the gains, but also getting the fun stuff along the way.
I like the fun stuff for a while. Like I did a hard clue completion and all that stuff, and I don't know.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
I know I didn't even juggle anything. I just got lucky.
That's awesome. I've tried to do that with a couple of masters, but no luck so far. Like 1 or 2 steps in, it's a drop.
Yeah, I think somebody calculated it was like 0.5 or 1% of master chefs we could even do.
Yeah, I mean, every time you get one, you got to see, because if you hit that roll, that's pretty cool. But yeah, he's definitely. I think he has right now like 1,500 easy caskets or something like that. I think he's going for 5K easy caskets, and he'll open them all up. But
fuck that.
Yeah, I'm more like right now I'm focused on max, but I'm collecting along the way, is how I like to say it. So like I'm trying to be efficient in collecting things while I'm on the way to finishing things. So for example, I green logged, technically it'll be a green log when they released Arctic Pine, but I green logged Forestry on the way to 99 woodcutting. So things like that. Or like I green logged Guardians of the Rift on the way to 99 rune crafting.
I need to eventually get the log basket. I just
Yeah, yeah. There's forestry is a. I don't think there's that many people who have really done it all the way to completion on an iron level 3. There's definitely a few, a handful, but it I feel like you can't really give huge opinions on forestry till you've had to do it till the green log. But it's probably most things I imagine. Like I did aerial for all of those green logs. Those are things that like even normal level 3s don't necessarily even go for. Like the fish sack
I
and
have
stuff
one of
like
the
that.
pro rods. I only have it because I think it looks cool. I got it because
Yeah,
I was just bored one day, I think, and I got a golden tench really early, so I think I got a second one pretty fast as well.
that's yeah. You were fortunate. I got my golden tench like 60 pearls from finishing, and then I got a second one, or I got it like 800 pearls in, and then I got a second one like 30 pearls before finishing, so I had to drop like 60 pearls or something.
Damn.
It was like at the very tail end of the grind, but yeah, it was like collection stuff. I like, do I wear it all the time? No, but like the Mkando hammer, little things like that I can store in the POH that are collection log stuff. I love to go for.
I love my little hammer. I have that for like the utility purposes though.
It's well, that's the best part is like that's why I love UIM because people would say it's super tedious because you don't have a bank, but with the POH storage and a lot of like the different things that have come out over time, it's a lot more enjoyable than I think people realize.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can have all your skill capes in the POH rack. You can have all your skilling outfits in there. You can put halos in there. You can put cool things that are collection items like the Kando hammer or even you said the log basket, the forestry basket, which is like the combined one, the best one you can make basically.
Mm-hmm.
That can store in your POH as well.
Oh, you can't.
So
I
you
didn't
can
know
put your
that.
wood cutting. Yeah, you can actually put your wood cutting cape into the forestry, I always forget what it's called because the name variations aren't good. The forestry basket. You can put the forestry basket into your POH with the wood cutting cape in it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, with everything else in it. So if you have like 115k bark like I do, you can just throw that bad boy in there. You don't have to lose everything.
Damn.
So
I actually did
yeah.
not know that. I'll have to actually, do some forestry then so I can do that. Which is
Yeah.
extremely unfortunate for me. I just like don't
I
want
was
to.
gonna say I just got out of that, so I'm still dealing with the repercussions of the fact that I'm gonna have 3 items for a pet that I don't have yet, and I'm at Redwoods a little bit during this bingo comp for a clan trying to get the beaver, but one of my friends he went like almost 50 mil drive the beaver at Redwoods, so I'm I'm not optimistic, but that's one of the quality of life things that I don't like about new releases like Forestry is they make these rare items that you collect or get from it. Like for example, Gardens of the Rift, it's the 3000 Abyssal Pearl orb. Like that thing isn't quick to get, but if you drop it, it's gone. But for some reason, you can like drop the Abyssal Needle or whatever, and you can just get it back over and over. They tend to not like allow things that are unlocked with collection log to be reobtainable, which is kind of a favorite thing for UIMs. I get it. Like maybe bankers could argue it's extra bank slots for nothing. Like I guess I have to have this fox whistle and this golden pheasant egg and this orb in here. But I don't know why they don't just make it obtainable if it's a pet skin cosmetic or if you've unlocked
Or
with the
make
collection log, just be able to get it again.
yeah, or make it like 10 pearls after if you
Yeah,
drop there
like
like
some cost. Yeah.
make the I don't know. It's one of those
Imagine
weird
if they
things.
made you get 500 easy clues done again just to get the giant spade again if you dropped it
That'd be
or
crazy.
somebody like it just doesn't. There are certain things in PVM it's pretty normal. I think getting the rare drop itself is like I'm not saying you shouldn't have it be that case, but if you grind like 3000 abyssal pearls for an orb, you should be able to use that on the Guardian Rift pet and it be a permanent unlock. And that's not even the case to this day. It's just dumb to me. Like I don't know how else to explain it, but yeah, Forestry was probably my least favorite collection log grind of all.
So that being said,
But
like
I enjoyed.
what kind of grinds or achievements would people like know you the most for?
Well, I mean, most people don't know this, but I was the first UIM level 3 to put out a full UIM level 3 guide, like ever. So for example, Navis at the time was making videos. He would do like, I think at the time he barely even had that many. He would do like a fishing manipulative method, because he was always, EHP minded.
I know he did like
Um,
he was one of the first people to do the mess hall for tuna mill cooking.
right. And honestly, Leveler Thrust knew that method as well. Leveler Thrust just didn't do it because he thought it'd be considered an exploit. And to be fair, right when Navis released that and did finish 200 mil, it got patched like for like I think less than half the XP it was.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why he kept it secret that whole time, because he didn't want anybody to know the method. Because if they figured out the method, they would have leaked it, and then guess what happened? It would have taken more hours for him to get 200 mil. It would have taken what it takes people to get it now if they did mess hall. But obviously, if you do it now, you would do one tick Karambwans.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
you're really interested in EHP and XP per hour.
So aside from like that video, you said, because not a lot of people knew that one about you. So what would be like the most known thing? I know one thing that I know vis-a-vis like other people we know together is, I know the one thing you are kind of known for is doing something big and then kind of like going ghost for a few months and then coming back and doing something big again.
Yeah. So the reason why that's the case for me, where it probably isn't for others, is I would always do something that like nobody else is doing. And then I would get, for like a lack of a better word, I would kind of get hit with Jagex doing some update that would basically diminish all the work that I had done.
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's put it in perspective. When there was level 3s, there was only level 3s, no iron level 3s. That's a whole series. Papa Frank and Leverage and then Nova Skillers. Then I did an OSAT and I got 1099s, and then I became a defense peer. Kind of got bored of that because Iron Man came out. Then Iron Man came out and UIM ultimately came out. And then I did a UIM level 3. That one I actually ruined myself, but during that one, I got combat XP because nobody knew the melee manipulative method to not get combat XP. Then once I ruined that account, which that one was on me, I made it a Zerker eventually.
I thought it was a one
UIMs.
defense peer, or did you go all the way to Zerk?
Oh yeah, I went all the way to Zerk. I had 2K plus total. I had Song of the Elves done. I was getting to the point where I had like Elder Chaos robes finished. I was working on, basically I was starting to work on like 1 def and, completion stuff. I mean, nowadays a 45 def gets even more, like Missouri and all this stuff. I mean, there's so much more gear now, but at the time I was doing pretty good. But yeah, I don't even regret actually making that account not in level 3, because then what happened again, they updated again and they made it where you could do it was released by keyboard. You could do the 0 combat XP melee method for a Druidic Ritual. So then I was like, oh, I'll start that. And then I did a series with that. And then once that happened, they patched that. And so then all the work in the videos I made for that series became deprecated, because now you had to use the cannon. A cannon stall 0 combat XP method. So then I did another series with that. And then once that happened, they basically announced that they were, because of the melee spawn fix, how it negatively affected the skillers, they just said they were going to do the dynamite stuff. Then the dynamite stuff came out. Well, by that point, I was just sick of trying to do it over and over again. I had like 4 series where they would just, the thing is, if I didn't make videos, it probably wouldn't have mattered as much to me.
Yeah.
Because most of the OGs that I know that were starting their accounts now, they have 200 mils, they have combat XP and they don't have levels. It doesn't matter. But I was also a little spooked about it because both Navis and Rez's got 2 strength, which was like 2 people who were UIM, people that I was playing at the same time as. So I was kind of like, okay, I should probably take this advantage since I'm not too far. I would definitely probably be close to max, if not maxed already on bag, if I was still playing that as a level 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also glad that it's not, because this account, I decided that's it. I'm not going to do quest or combat or anything like that, which is kind of what I'm known for, is like the early efficient grind. My first guide was like, what do you do? It was the first efficient guide. And then the second guide came out was with Haygardy, and Haygardy didn't intend on staying level 3. He's a high level, regular UIM main, or I should say combat account. He just did it like for the first early beginning till he got 9 agility. And so we worked on that guide and theory crafted on that together. I'm credited on that. And then your guide came out. But I was the one making videos of the efficient steps and stuff. So I would do like 6 videos or 7 videos, and then something would just kind of diminish the whole thing. So that's one main reason. And then I would say the other reason I'm probably known for that is because, I definitely have avoided sticking to things and finishing all the way because I have such a busy in real life. And I also went through a lot of changes in my life, like even from the core of what I believe. So, I think there was a lot of other things that I deal with outside of the game that maybe other people, they call it burnout or whatever else, but like it would be burnout if the game was purely my life.
Yeah, well, and that's a hard part for, like you mentioned earlier, your Sam Hydes, which is like this was kind of it for him, and then he just stopped playing.
Yeah. I mean, I was there for his 200 mil RC party. My current account UIM, I went for 99 rune crafting untrimmed first. And so I got to do some rune crafting with him as he was getting closer to finishing.
Yeah, I rune
Um,
crafted with him for a while too.
yeah, yeah, I know you have like high rune crafting XP. I don't even know. I think that's where I originally met you. Actually, it was either that or Z Skillers, but I definitely met you. I think even rune crafting on maybe even bag, like it was ages ago. But yeah, I remember
It's been a
rune
long time.
crafting. You
It's
spent a lot of time
been
at rune crafting.
Yeah, that was my first 99 as well. It was because like I've mentioned this before, but like that was all Mayfield was meant to be. I was gonna get
That's a good, yeah.
I was gonna get top page RC, and then that was it. And then I was gonna
You were going to be the Sam Hyde before Sam Hyde.
yeah yeah. And
Yeah,
then
that makes sense.
I just liked playing the game as like this style of accounts. I kept going. I'll say speaking of my guide as well, I need to it's so outdated now.
I still refer to people. Basically, what I tell them is go look at, I always send them your last efficient guide. And then I just basically give them the tips of what to do now based on the meta changes of PD and recoils.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like when I started this actual UIM, it was the first time I didn't do quest and combat and do it all the way because I just didn't care anymore because I had gone through like 4 changes of them basically not ruining my account, but kind of because every single time I could do something different and more perfectly. And it would kind of bother me and I would just restart. But this account that I'm on now, because it's interesting how I finally said, whatever, I'm just going to have fun, like you're saying. And then right when I got 9 NRC and then 9 Thieving, everything changed. And Poison Dynamite came out. And then I was like, now I'm going to go for combat.
And that's the other thing too is
it
like
worked out.
With Poison Dynamite and all that stuff, they changed poison mechanics as well, like shortly after.
Yeah, I did all this stuff right before it, and there was a bunch of people in the clan I started that they had to wait until it was fixed to do some of the stuff that I had just completed.
Mm-hmm.
And then even that, like I made guides that are actually technically they are outdated now, even because of recoils and because of alt methods. So it's like even now the current videos that are what most people message me every day saying, I like your videos, thanks for your guide. They'll join the clan. They'll ask me UIM questions. They really want to know like how to start their account off right. And mainly it's because, there's a little bit of fear of like messing up their account or something, or they just, they watched videos and they liked them. So they're just reaching out to somebody who has their private chat on. That's friendly.
Yeah, I get that.
Even now
a little bit of the
still
same messages myself.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how it goes. But I think the reason why people reach out to me is because as of right now, I'm the only UIM level 3 with max quest points and combat complete.
You also did like most of the guides yourself too. So I think people when they look it up and they see you, they're like, oh, this guy, he's talking about. Whereas like me and our are kind of just like we really only care about number go up.
You guys are like void lords too. Like you guys just enjoy your account and are enjoying it's not like you're not willing to share because you are. You can talk to our, he's awesome. People can talk to you. You're awesome. But it's something about like, actually putting out like the videos so people can see it. And then I think the thing too is, for example, like with contact, my guide for completing the contact, I'm not like, all right, this was my method. I figured this thing out. I'm like, okay, I'm going to show you a small part of it, but here's the video to keyboards video that actually helped.
Keyboards are hardcore. He did. It was just crazy.
Yeah. So like, that's the thing about my stuff. I've never taken credit for other people's work. But the things that I have discovered or worked with somebody else to do, I always will acknowledge that because like I do see it as a contribution,
Mm-hmm.
Like I know for a fact that Hey Guardy's guide, which was like a really good guide that I would link to people who would start. I know for a fact that like he was in voice calls with me asking me questions of what like he was getting information from me to build that guide out and I was helping him with it, which is why my name's credited in there, you know? So I think that there has been a lot of stuff that I know and I've discovered because I've just played this build too many times and I've had to go through all of the different things. One of my UIMs was ruined because I remember Mauler. You probably know who Mauler is.
Yep.
I remember when they had figured out like how to get the feud done, and the real reason was that they had figured out how to exploit to get the ring of recoils, but I didn't know that. And I remember Mauler and one of his friends telling me like, "Oh, you need to use the KP spear and poison it, and you'll get combat XP." And I wasted like 30 combat XP because I trusted like what they were saying, and it was just a troll. Like they were just messing with me. Um, obviously Mauler and I are cool now. Like that's no, I've reformed up like a lot over the last 10 years. So, and I always, I don't really judge anybody because I really believe I'm the worst. But yeah, that's definitely something that like you redo that over again. And once you've experienced enough like scars and stuff, like you kind of become a person that people want to ask. It's like, why would you ask somebody who's just starting? You should ask somebody who's like been damaged by it a bunch because they'll probably help you avoid things that are pitfalls or things that you wouldn't know that you just don't know till you get past it. And then you wish you would have known somebody who could have prevented you from kind of shooting yourself in your own foot with dynamite.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like a unique perspective that you have. Like you said, you've started over. I don't know how many times this is your what, fourth time?
So this is technically my fourth. This is technically my fifth UIM level 3. And out of all those UM level 3s, I have gotten, let's just say, base 70 on each of them, base 80 on each of them. But
Yeah.
also, like, Bag was the best. Bag had like 30 mil thieving. Bag had 90, 90 pluses, 99s, 99 farming. I've done 99 farming, though, on all of them. So this will be my fifth time doing UIM level 3 tied to 99 farming. But yeah,
That sounds awful to me. Pretty much all
it
my
is
farming is
awful,
just
but
runs.
yeah, it definitely is awful. I've avoided it. I've done other 99s just to avoid it because I've done it so many times. And it's really, they had like an opportunity to update it, and they, after years and years, they finally had a moment to update it, and their updates to it were like pretty weak. And even like, again, it's the quality of life thing I was mentioning. Like, for example, they added the herb boxes, and they're not that great for the points, to be honest. So that's not really a long-term reason to do more tithe, but also they made it to where you could bring all the additional seeds in, but the point gap isn't even increased. So you can't even just sit in there and do like max point cap because once you get to a certain point, you have to like leave, use all the rewards, and then come back. So there's things like that where they get a chance to, after years of it being in the backlog, to do something with it, and then they do something with it, but it's not that great.
But it's not like
So
fully done as much as
yeah,
you
I
may
mean,
want it to.
yeah, and like I really believe like that's the main issue that I have with this game. Like I personally with UIM, I know I will never ruin this account because it is literally perfect. It is, out of all my accounts, I've transcended beyond all of them, and this is my best account. And it's basically been through trial and error and actually failing and getting messed with and all these other things that have brought me to the point where I have UIM. And even from like the name stuff, some other people know me for like dabbling with rare display names and stuff for a season. Even this username, U space I space M, I just input it in and got it. And like a friend borrowed it for forever, but eventually he released it so I could pick it up again for this series.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so even down to that, like all this time, like just everything with my account, no combat XP, finishing all quests. I'd never fully finished every single quest because you had to do recoils. And I had gotten recoils as well to get the feud done on one of those accounts. And it just felt kind of greasy. So like this was the first time I could do everything entirely clean because Jagex made a way, and I did it on this account,
Mm-hmm. Plus, they like a lot of the quality of lives we've gotten over time. Like I remember when I still remember when it was like very difficult to get a looting bag. You had to do the spawn hitting on the rats and all that stuff. There's no way to
Yeah.
like buy them, and then they gave it to us in the LMS shop. And
Yeah,
then,
like temporarily you had this benefit of looting bags for GP.
yep, I remember that too.
And
Yeah, it was like the Slayer shop and shit too.
yeah, I mean some OG UIMs like you and I, honestly, we remember the days when like the early game was tougher because one, you didn't have ever have looting bags. Two, we never could grow snape grass. So when you made pea pots, you had to run through hobgoblins and drop everything. You didn't have GE to note pots. You didn't have looting bag. You didn't have a way to get looting bag because at one point you didn't even have melee spawn. So you had to actually get damage if you wanted to kill rats. With the poison dagger. There's just so many little things like that. The big one was the mahogany, or not mahogany homes, but the POH for construction. Like I remember you had to get like 64 just to store the base skilling outfits. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't anywhere near as easy in the beginning game as it is now. But I also think that the quality of life updates are, like, do you really want to be that miserable? Some people will quit because it isn't miserable and they think it's kind of ridiculous, but other people will think that it's not that bad. Like it's actually brought way more UIM level 3s. There is a mass influx of UIM level 3s compared to back then from just even some of those quality updates. So,
I think
you know,
the recoils, the poison dynamite, a lot of things have just made the barrier to entry so much lower. So I think that
yeah,
when
normal level
I
3s can now play iron level 3s. Like normal level 3s feel like they can get out of an iron level 3 what they get out of a normal level 3 without just buying everything from the GE for all their buyables.
yeah,
So it's kind of like if you're a level 3, unless you're like really far into your account, like your JCWs, your right, normal level 3s. Like I can think of a handful of level 3s that are really far in post XP. Unless you're at that point and you're like not even maxed it, and it's kind of like now's the time to go iron.
well, you can also look at people like MLK, who does have UI level 3 that he doesn't really play that much, but if he ever
Yeah, I
wanted
said
to,
JCW, but I actually was thinking in my head when I said a handful, I was thinking of MLK, plundering, like several other people, Steph, like people who are, it would not make sense for them to start an iron level 3 if right now.
yeah,
But MLK has one.
that's what I was saying. He has one, so maybe when he finishes MLK, he'll focus on that.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, like that's the thing is he had a goal and a vision for something that he wanted to do. And I know MLK. I think he's a really funny, cool guy. But yeah, I would say like he really had his eyes set on something, and he still played his UIM to a good point and got some 99s. But the goal that he really had was 200 mil mining, and so you have to respect somebody who has like an account that's much further, that has a bigger goal, and does what they want to do for their goal. Like that's the beauty of this game. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, for most people, I think if they start a level 3 skill pure, they probably just like the novelty of it a little bit. It is a classic novelty. It's like a classic novelty is as classic as a one defense pure. It's
Yeah.
it's been like as a community, level 3 skill pures they've been around since I've been around the entire time. Like the days when you had a party hat on a level 3 before, when they were rare, like the
Hmm.
novelty of dying, the novelty of 10 HP was like when you die, you would lose everything in your inventory. It'd be on the ground. So level 3 was just this really, cool thing to have high stats and just be like, look like a bot level 3 as a joke, and have like really cool cosmetics and stuff that you could wear. Like it's a staple of the old school, or really the RuneScape experience, honestly, throughout the entire history of RuneScape.
Hmm.
So to do that iron, it's cool because your reliance upon alts is not for. I mean, I don't want to say it's not for 200 mils because you can get some benefit for helps, but it's not just to buy everything. You can't just be like, all right, let me use my 5 alts and just buy everything. And even though you still spend all the time on 200 mil herb or 200 mil craft or 200 mil smith, like it's still respectable. It's time, and if it's your goal, it's your goal. Cool, but it's not the same thing as doing it entirely on that one account. You know, there's something to be said about that. Like it's really satisfying as a level 3 or prayer pure or whatever 10 HP build you are. Like getting something cool on that, it feels really good.
Yeah, I think smithing would be fun. I think I think
Yeah,
smithing might be
the
my
mithril plate body method.
no different one. I have a bunch of ore to use, but I'll probably do the Giant's Foundry method, where you buy the shit from the shops and then you go, uh, then you just put it in the blah, 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 the thing in Giant's Foundry, the cauldron.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. Words are
Yeah, I
hard.
did that to level 80. So I did it. I got everything unlocked I needed from there for my ice gloves because that was the only way you could store the ice gloves in the POH as a UM level 3 was getting the full outfit and the gloves there so you could imbue the gloves by putting the ice gloves in them.
Yeah,
And then
don't
you could
remind
store
me I
them
have
as
to get
POH.
that. Don't remind me I still have to get ice gloves. Fuck.
Yeah, you can always reach out. We got you.
I just like it's just like some of those small things I just like don't want to do. Like
Yeah, everybody's different. Like there's such unique things you can go for, but they're not like that. Not everybody's going to go for them. What I like about it is anybody can. You know,
just using
that's
the
what I
bucket of
like about it.
water on
It's
the
there
blast
for you.
furnace and at the Giant's Foundry, it just sucks.
I did it to 80, so once I unlocked everything, I was like, yeah, you know what? Now the gloves are really good. But I thought you were talking about the mithril plate body method because that's what I'm going to do to 99 because it's more GP per hour than blood rune crafting. It's the best. It's the best GP per hour in the game as an iron level 3, but it's all heavy and very click intensive and it's very intense.
Oh, you mean like
So
you mean selling the plate bodies to the see that I was gonna do that. I wanted
res
to be
is the reason I know about that one, by the way.
I wanted to be the first UIM to terminal smithing. I was gonna do that originally, actually, a long time ago.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Um, but then I found out that you have to have an iron alt to stock the shop.
Yeah, that part turned you away from it.
Yeah,
I understand. I really think that and it's one of those things where I have had to actually use a lot of alts for my account, but it's not in the way that people would think. It's like the alts are to do really interesting things, but
mhm.
mainly for like body blocking and when you're trying to, kill a zombie to get an axe so that you can kill a tree spirit to get lost city done. So you can make cosmics and have the German staff for quick access to Puro and for clues and all of those types of things. Like not everybody's really going to go for them, but they require the alts usually to either do a method or to quickly do it to get the method unlocked. And
I was
that
gonna,
can be kind of a turn off too.
I was gonna say now in saying that, for those who have watched the podcast for a long time, you all may know that I do have the other account that I play, and the account that I'm playing right now on RS3 is an Iron Man in OSRS and does have like 200,000 blood runes just sitting in. So maybe it's might be viable for me to do it eventually.
Yeah. I mean, I would say so I'll send you the video that Rez's sent me. Rez is a homie. Like I was there at his max party, when he was level 3 UIM and I know a lot of people who are way farther along in the game than me that are way better at the game than me. I've been around a long time. I've never actually really fully quit. Which, sometimes I wonder why, but yeah, when it comes down to the method, I can shoot that over to you. It seems intense, but I think there's a flow to it. And I'm convinced, but only because I recently, not that recently, but I did 99 cooking via one tick Karam once because of a person that showed it to me. I'm trying to remember their name. Low, I think it was Low. And I don't know if you know who Low is.
Ultimate low.
Normally, yeah,
Yeah,
Ultimate
yeah.
Low. Yeah, Low. They sent me a method, or they did 99 cooking via one tick Karam ones. And I was like, wait, I have Taiba one eye trio done. I could do that. And then I basically asked Rez's, did you do this? And he's like, yeah, that's how I did 200 mil cooking, or it's the most XP per hour. And so then I thought, well, this is way better than mess hall. And so I went and did it with the alt and I got used to it. I got into the flow, like I would say probably about an hour in, and then I just did 99 cooking. It was just so much better. So I think that's going to be like that with smithing, but I haven't done the mithril plate body method yet, but it's a lot like anything. It's more intimidating when you look at it and it seems kind of annoying. And then you start doing it and you get in a rhythm and you realize like, this is really enjoyable.
Yeah, and I
But
used
yeah,
to
it's
when I used
more
to hang
than,
out in Discord with all those guys. It was when Riz was doing his terminal cooking, so he would stream it all the time. So I watched
yeah.
I watched him do it for probably a total of like 10 hours.
Yeah, I watched him a lot too. There was a Discord called X Skillers, and I would hang out in there with Cosmic Blues, who used to play at the time. I still have his RSN if he ever comes back. I did that for BA5 too. Whenever they leave and their username gets taken away or something or lost, I just snag it. And then when they come back, I just give it to them. But I used to hang out in X Skillers all the time. That's how I know MLK as well. I think that's how I know Peak too. Either maybe that was from a different clan, but yeah, I got to watch a lot of stuff, but I never really did it myself. And now I'm doing pretty much everything myself. So it's, I'm really thankful for those guys that know those methods and are willing to share them.
So all that being said, we got a few more topics that are kind of hot in the community right now. You got a few big ones in regards to updates, things that are coming. You know, you've obviously got the big ones with a new skill coming out. But let's look back and let's look at the most recent big thing that happened, and that was Leagues 4 Trailblazer Reloaded. Did you play Leagues 4? Did you enjoy it?
So this is going to be a take that most people might disassociate with me, but I'm actually not a fan of Leagues. I did do Leagues, and I always do it for like the minimal amount of points. But here's the only reason why I don't like Leagues. I don't like Leagues because it does reward cosmetics that can be stored in your POH that are cool, but the diminishing return on the cost of them, even though you can buy old ones, is severe for irons. So what I mean by that is, if you didn't play the first leagues and go hard in the first leagues, then the second leagues, you have to get everything from that league and the stuff from the past one if you want to try to keep up. And you usually can't unless you're like really playing leagues to the maximum. And it's usually like a certain amount of time frames. So for people who are more casual, it's going to be tougher. But it's, you know, the first couple ones, it's not that big of a deal. But once you're like on 4 leagues in and the cost for stuff is still relatively high, like you can't do the leagues, get everything from that league and anything from the past. To me, I don't like that. The only thing that shouldn't be the case is the trophies. So I feel like if you got Dragon Trophy in the first league, nobody should ever be able to get that reward. That's a cosmetic that should be able to sit in your POH in a trophy case that, you know, represents what you did in that leagues. But all the stuff that's tradable in the GE, all the stuff that's like obtainable, I feel like that should be pretty low cost factor so that people can actually have more of a reason to play leagues beyond the minimal points to get some item they want cosmetically. So the reason why I don't like that a little bit is just because the cosmetic rewards could be used in the live game. And they could have interesting ways and create content in the live game. There's things that in leagues are really, really nice. Like they prove that they can do things with the engine that in the live game, they kind of act like they can't. And to me, that's just more of like maybe they're using leagues as a testing ground. Sometimes it seems like it's it's kind of like they're more interested in development of the league and cool things for that than they are for making quality of life changes in the live game. And I do believe that because I can give examples of bad lacking of quality assurance when I've tagged and talked with mods that said, yeah, we'll do that. And they still haven't. For things like Gardens of the Rift, you know, which makes me not as excited about sailing to some degree because of that. And knowing the devs that are on that team and what they've done in the past, which Madalena, no shame to her, but she was responsible for the clan engine system. I have a lot of issues with the quality of life updates that were quote unquote promised to us that we didn't get for that release, though it's a great release. And then Guardians of the Rift, I have some things that they had to update it before. I still think it's lacking. And then Forestry doesn't make me all that happy either. So when you stack up a bunch of stuff that isn't just Desert Treasure 2 or isn't just PVM or PvP updates, but the other things in the game, it's been kind of a letdown on quality and whatnot, but it seems like with leagues, they're always able to pull it off. So I look at it more from, I'm not a big fan of leagues because of the devotion that it takes for the developers and how it takes away from the live game. And I believe that it actually has. But is it fun? Oh yeah. But I usually do it. The thing that I don't like is like, this is my last UIM and I had done the other leagues on other accounts and I couldn't transfer any of my cosmetics because I'm an iron. So it's like, okay, you can't even, you can't prove it on one account and then have it unlocked on all the others.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw my video I made about Leagues 4. I just think there was a lot of issues with it. A little bit of lack of creativity, reusing an old league. Obviously, they added Zaya and stuff this time, so it was like, a little bit different. But I think
What was your favorite league then?
my favorite league, Twisted League, first one.
Yeah, Twisted League. Let's go.
Uh,
That's probably my favorite one as well. Actually, I did like Shattered. I did think Shattered was
Shadow
an
Relics.
interesting. Yeah, I
I
did actually like
hated
it.
Shadow Relics.
Yeah, well, I also didn't go till the end game, so I can't really speak on it like somebody else. Like Void could probably speak on that because he has done every leagues. That man got like 80K plus points this last leagues on his UN level 3 and got everything. He has everything you could possibly get from leagues. It's but like the outfits, you know, tier 1's pretty low, tier 2's pretty affordable, and then tier 3 of an outfit jumps to like 10,000 points. It's like that's a lot of points for one outfit. And it doesn't unlock the prior ones. Like it's stuff like that. But
I got the death
yeah.
animation scroll and the home teleport animation scroll from the new Trailblazer. That's all I cared about.
Yep. What I did, because this is the first leagues on this newer account since my account isn't that old, I did the exact same thing. The death animation, the home telly. I got the home telly for every single prior league and the tier 1 outfit from every prior league and the current league. So I basically just got like the minimal things. And I did go like for a bit. I think I got to like, no, not Mithril. Yeah, definitely. I think Mithril. So it was like I barely did anything, but I did unlock all 3 regions. I did actually give it more of a shake than I ever have because it was, not because it was more interesting, but because I felt like I'm behind. And that's what I don't like about it. I don't feel like I should have to feel like I have to play this league because I'm super behind from all the other leagues to get things done.
I
That
feel
just doesn't make it feel great.
I feel that cause I still have 30,000 points from previous leagues that I have never spent.
Mm-hmm.
So I could just go buy things I wanted, but I have everything I want. I don't have any interest in any of the weird cosmetics. I like animations and all that stuff
Yeah.
because it's like it's a one-time unlock. I can change it whenever I want. I don't have to
It
like
was
go.
worth it this league for that. Literally, other than those, it wasn't really. Other than the other league rewards, and then those from this leagues, it
Mhm.
wasn't worth it as a level 3 for me because of the same thing. Like I didn't think the outfit was cool, and most of the stuff was for combat accounts, which is totally fine. Cosmetics for like a lot of combat related things, which is
Mhm.
totally fine. But that means that I never have to really play leagues that much to get everything from that league. And
Now
like you said, it was fun. I enjoyed it. We did it as a clan. A lot of people did it in our clan. So that was kind of cool to see. But I definitely, the big thing that I would say is the main point, and then I'll leave it from my side, is it's taking away from dev time to the real game. And there are tons of things that they keep putting on the quote unquote backlog. As a software engineer, I know exactly what that is. I'm a senior software engineer. I was a lead software engineer for a top robotics company in the US. Like I know how software and agile sprint work and how project managers run things. Like I think sometimes the JMods forget that there are like people who are high end in tech, not just me. I'm talking about people even better than me that play their game. So it's sometimes it can be frustrating when there's all of this energy exerted to something like a leagues, but there's the quality of things that are getting released aren't great. And we
well,
can actually give real examples of that, right? So now to me, it's like, wait, is leagues, if somebody like you is saying leagues doesn't feel that creative, then you have like, a lot of people feeling like they're only doing it for other rewards from other leagues. And then you have the factor that you can't play your current account at the same time because it's the account you're on.
mhm.
So you're forced to play the league or play the live game. And then on top of that, this dev time and effort is going to leagues and not towards things in the live game that are on the backlog. Now I'm going as a customer. Okay, well, this is like, this is kind of annoying. Like, I know you want to put these new things out, but like, fix this bug that is I deal with every day, kind of thing,
Yeah, there's two big things I want to mention on that topic. And the first big one is every time they have a league or a dead man or whatever it may be, it's highest player count ever seen. So they make a shit ton of money from
Mm-hmm.
people buying bonds, from people buying 3 months of
Well, yeah, you have
membership,
to bond up
whatever.
an alt. You have to bond up an alt too, because if you want to play it on that other account, you don't want to lose all the stuff that you can get on that other account.
Exactly. So
It is a money grab. Like part of it feels like a money
I
grab.
don't think I
Or
don't think
not
it
to
was
interrupt, but
initially started as a money grab, but I
yeah.
think now when they realize the potential for what leagues can be for them, I absolutely
It
think
is a
that
testing ground
they,
too. Like, let's be honest, that's a positive net thing. Like for me, for example, I think it's dumb that I have to buy feathers a pack at a time, and I can't just buy. Like if I have the GP, I should be able to just type in buy X feather and buy that amount. Now they might be like, well, that's not good for bots. Well, why do I as a player have to be limited by what is a bot problem? And they're feathers. They're like 2 GP each. Like it doesn't make sense to have to like buy a whole inventory, open each pack,
Yeah,
and
that
then
does suck.
it's a stuff like that where it's like I do see where leagues they can go test it, and they did that this leagues where it's like you could just buy anything from the store. They push the engine and they prove that things are possible with leagues. That part's cool. I love seeing developers like have a place to sandbox, but that should just be like new things that they think about and test and beta test in the real game with real players.
It was also a great way to show off like the ruinous powers and like what they can do with
Yeah.
more prayers without having just like a beta test world.
That's why I think that they do it. Like I know that it's money for sure because that's how people in high places.
Yeah, I'm
say
sure
yes,
it's like 70% money.
mhm. And you know, like you said, originally it wasn't, and then over time it became that. But yeah, it's I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of here's how I look at it. If you're coming out with the leagues, but you put a blog post out that says that you're going to fix forestry and it's the final part, and one of those things includes Arctic pine trees, which is to grab an asset and put it in a location and save it and push it in a commit and push it to GitHub or whatever they're using for their code base to store it in cloud. And then it comes out in a patch next week, but instead it takes 3 months. Like to me, that's where it's like, okay, it's like the recoils. Mod Ash said that he was good with the recoils being added to the impling drop
A long
like
time
almost
ago.
5 years ago.
I remember
And
the
it was
original
just
tweet.
in the
Yeah.
back. It was in the backlog. And it was like that changed the entire game mode for people that we play, like our build, that community. It was a net positive. And you know, you have somebody like Ash saying, that's actually, yeah, we're good with that. But it just didn't happen. And then, you know, somebody in the newer dev came in and was like, oh, backlog stuff, here it is. Let's do that. And interacted with the community, had conversations. PD was a very good example of like, they didn't necessarily make it as cool as it could have been. You know, I was giving other feedback for things that I thought would have been way cooler. Like, hey, take that animation from the Rogues minigame where you throw that little thing at the NPC and make it where you can use this as a ranged weapon. Because then you could have like, you could move behind certain tiles. You could do like really cool stuff with it. And you would be throwing like a poison dynamite, which, you know, they didn't make it like, they made it like a pot. Like I would throw that thing and explode it. Not, you know, but there was cool things they could have done, but they didn't really care much about that. But, you know, they were interactive with the community and opened up a Discord thread for it and let the community talk back and forth with them to figure it out.
I think
that
even
was
with
cool to see, but yeah,
I think even with Poison Dynamite, even if they wanted to change that now, they could and just make it like augmentable. Like, oh, I have to like add something else to the dynamite itself to make it throwable. That would be fine too.
Yeah, I mean, this is a segue thing, but this is why I'm not I'm excited about sailing, but I'm not confident about sailing because the devs that are on sailing, not Husky, but specifically Elena, we still have quality issues that they say with their literal words and voices and on video. We will be fixed. We will have follow-up updates for this thing. This is just the first pass. That's what they said with the entire clan system. We still have issues like I can't move an admin rank or I can't move, an administrator like a mod up on the chart. So that means there's like 10 ranks that they can do. It's like a pointless rank. You know, there's tons of things with that system that are like could be updated in quality, just little tiny quality updates. The fact that I have to spend 3,000 abyssal pearls, and I'm going to repeat this again, on an orb that I cannot use to be consumed on my pet at Guardians of the Rift, and I can't get the orb back. So if I lose my Rift Guardian, I lose that 3,000 pearls. The fact that I can't, like, that's still a problem, but then yet, you know, like there's these new cosmetics that you can just consume on the beaver. Those are the types of things that I think grind my gears. Is you're spending all this time and effort in this other arena, but like there used to be like, and maybe you've been around, I know you've been around long enough. There used to be like this devotion to quality updates. There used to be like a segment where the devs would just focus on quality, and that would like kind of calm the storm, because I'm not saying that they're making way more content than ever before. Historically, that's not necessarily the case. But I'm making the case that like they're devoting far and far less to the customers in terms of quality and in terms of support.
On the
And those
on the
two,
flip side of that,
yeah,
now think about this. They just took Mod Shogun, who was a quality assurance developer for RS3, just joined the
yeah.
old school team 2 weeks ago.
Really? Okay. Well, let's go, Shogun, because that would be incredible. And I'm sure there's a large list, and they do need to do that. But the thing is, like, they need to do it like in the presence to the customers. The
I
stuff that's happening with the bans and
mhm.
all of this stuff, like it unsettles customers. And the thing is like they're gonna still make their money, but they're gonna lose trust. And I think that they don't want that. And it's just a hard part of like if you've been around a long time, you've had a lot of the old J mods and you've had a lot of the like how they prioritize things. And like they remember when they used to do like bot hunter streams and like they would do certain things like that now just never happen because they've replaced it with new things.
Yeah, I
But
remember
I mean,
the
yeah,
original
that's a
like
good
big.
win to get Shogun.
I remember the original like big bot busting thing. Like a hand would come out of the sky in the game and literally pull the person like out of the game. It was so sick to watch it happen
Yeah.
in real time. That was really cool.
Well, this is the thing. As a software engineer, I know what it looks like in tech when the customer says, "Hey, can you do this thing?" It's like, "Oh, well, we can't really prioritize it right now. We have this other thing. We have this feature coming out." Like, that's done all the time. Like, things go into a backlog. Like, that's real. I think what's kind of hard about it is like when you hear excuses as a customer, you don't really care because excuses are even worse as a person in tech. Because when they say like something can't be done, you're sitting there going, but you're God in the system. You can get it done. It's just not prioritized. And that's my concern about like over all of these years as a player that still concerns me and is probably like the only thing that really makes me feel like I want to walk away from the game is that I'm concerned that they are forever making excuses for things, you know, putting them underneath the rug and then trying to like put some shiny brand new thing out to take away from that reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is like that's not good. I mean, we'll see what happens, but forestry was a big example of things going south. And you know, I was actually very, very generous to the devs in terms of being charitable and not saying anything negative. But having done the content myself, like they patched the events like 3 times. It made it miserable. Like it's so much RNG on top of RNG on top of bad quality. You can't even play that thing on mobile because you've got, you know, let's say 50 people running around on the events. You can't even see the pheasant eggs on the ground. It's stuff like that I think bothers me because like I want a quality game. I don't just want like a ton of new things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also not a zoomer. Like I don't, you know, I don't lose interest immediately or after 10 minutes. Or I should say like my wife, I don't have ADHD. So I know that can be also a reason, which is fair. But yeah, I would just love to see some improvements on that front that would keep me a little bit more, I don't know. Maybe sailing will be that though. We'll see.
I think as well, like Jagex has so much on their plate because they've probably got half the community, like maybe a quarter of the community, like you, a quarter of the community who wants new things, and half to whatever percentage, I don't know, like a third that just don't give a shit. They just want to keep playing the game. And then there's
and level 3s are like we're a small minority. Let's say we're 1%. We're more than that than they think because a lot of people who play normal accounts also have simultaneously alts. So that's where I think a majority of like, but we're a small community too. We're a minority. So it doesn't make sense that they would prioritize a lot of their major things for us. And they don't, right?
But
So
what I
they
want to
do
lead
that,
into was not specifically that. It was a different video by a different YouTuber. His name is Protox. He makes RS3 content, and him, and then I know another YouTuber named Crunchy has also gone over this like update stuff. But RuneScape 3 just released their roadmap for February and March. That's it. You know how we have our roadmap in OSRS until what, midsummer?
Yeah.
So the RS3 roadmap is basically just quality changes. That's it. And people are pissed because they want more content. So that's what I mean is what I'm saying. Like you've got maybe half the community saying like, give us more quality, less like, you know, even if we had one really good update a month, that would be great.
Well, imagine Imagine if it wasn't even just one a month. Imagine like if they did what they used to do, which is they say out of the whole roadmap, we will do 1 month of updates that are all backlog stuff. That's what
Yeah,
I think. I
that'd be
think you
good.
take it's like we're not asking for 50%. We get it. You got to build new features, you got to get stuff out to the customers, you got to keep people engaged. Like we're not even pushing against that. We're saying, "Hey, where are the good old J mods?" Because if a small team can do it, you can too with the larger team. That say 1 month out of 12 don't build new features. Do I want to see I mean imagine just seeing like balancing things, they'll post stuff for like new items and to balance things or like, they're doing good work, and so I could see how that'd be kind of annoying, like if old school had the same experience as RS3 where the devs are starting to do that. But I think that it would just be nice to like nod in the direction of the people that care about the game and have been with it for a long time, and they only have to do a little slight nod. Like
Hmm.
1 month of imagine all devs and designers revisiting like things that are weird glitches in the movement or the wearing of things. Like imagine just like a month of all hands on deck. Every single person that's on the old school team is just devoted to cleaning shop, like getting house in order. That makes a huge then the thing is that just puts it in the mind like they actually care about this game. And then the next 11 months give us new stuff, we're good, you know? And
And
then
I would say,
if there's problems that are introduced with that new stuff, well, guess what? You come back around to a month and then you do it again. It's like then you have like we at my company, we do bug bashes. And we basically will do, a bunch of development and feature development, but we will like we will designate sprints to backlog and customer love and bug bashes. And when we do that, it's like it makes a huge difference in terms of how they perceive us. And that's what I think they should do it for is perception. Because with a lot of change and a lot of new people on the team and coming from RS3 and stuff like that, like you've got a huge part of your player base that doesn't expect no updates, but definitely is they've been around a long time. They're in their 30s, and they're not kids anymore, which is why they allow some of the usernames that they do in this game. I can't, my 10-year-old can't really play unless it's with public off because, or entity hider on, I don't know. Because it's like some of that stuff's like pretty bad. But yeah, I don't know. I think that if they did that, it'd be kind of nice to see. But I also wouldn't want that situation with RS3. I imagine that community is not happy with that.
well, that community is not happy for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. I mean, that's a thing too. Like, I want to stress this because I think like things like personally, I love Guardians of Rift. I did that. Like, I was very happy with that update over library. I was very happy with forestry, the concept of forestry. I'm very happy, and I voted yes. And I was a sailing person. I voted for sailing. That's what I wanted. I still want it. I still like the idea of the fact that I could somehow store up mass amounts of like cannonballs into my ship, and I could go around and I could kill monsters on like tasks, on Slayer tasks, and get no combat XP and just get Slayer XP for shooting them with cannonballs, and get a Slayer XP that's like, I don't know, fair 20k an hour, and doesn't give much sailing XP. So it's like an alt method, kind of like aerial. Like I love the idea of being able to get 99 Slayer through 200 mil sailing. Like I think that like new features, mahogany homes. I love mahogany homes. Like that's one of my favorite construction updates. That's how I'm gonna get 99 con. I did it the other way before. I did Taverly method, 32k, 35k XP per hour, where you had to use balloon transportation and do only oak planks and larders. Like I still think mahogany homes is better, even though it's like 100k XP an hour.
That's one thing that I wanted to mention back from the league's discussion was do you remember when they did the first Trailblazer and the Trailblazer globe came out and it like broke construction for 3 days?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, I mean,
So
well,
did
that's the thing that's repeating since a lot of more people are on the team, right? Is there's more development and there's more emphasis on getting features out. The quality becomes something that you have to keep your eyes on, and you have to designate. This is the thing, you have to designate resources to. And that sounds like what they just did. They just added somebody. But that's the thing. If you're doing more and you're pushing harder, you just have to make sure you don't leave a wake of disaster that actually affects players for, let's say, 3 days or longer. And forestry did that too. That's like a more recent version of the globe thing. Like forestry was, people were not happy with that update. And they had to do like part 1 and part 2. And then they made that blog post for like the final thing. And they still haven't brought those updates in the game 3 months later almost. Like, or it was November when they posted it. We're in February. So, yeah, I mean, they do that now. The new devs have a history of making and pushing, and that's good. They're getting stuff out. Remember when people said we wouldn't have a clan system?
Yeah.
Like, remember
People
when they were
know
like,
that would happen.
we can't do this. No, yes, you can. Like, if you're in tech, you can. It's just, it's not easy.
How high of a priority is it on your list is the real question.
Right. And it's like, my thing is whenever you release something really good, and if you say we're going to do follow-up updates to this, then you designate a small portion of your devotion to doing what you said you would do. That's all. But like, yeah, the clan engine system, like people are still complaining about that because people who actually have to manage it can't tell how long has somebody been inactive. You can't, like I said, you can't make an admin rank. You can't move that up to the top. So now you have to have like 4 wasted ranks, or those ranks are going to you can't even, there's no point in having the admin rank. You might as well have the, make a top rank at the very top, and you're limited on that, But then again, it's like they're doing big things. Like I actually was a big fan of the launcher, the Jagex launcher.
I think it's convenient.
Yeah, I think that like I'm a big fan of like more security. I'm a big fan of like, I think that they could do some things that would be really nice that they wouldn't do. But
I personally don't think the Jagex launcher was like the best move towards account security per se. For the sole factor that if I have 20 accounts linked to my Jagex launcher and somebody gets access to it, that's all my accounts gone.
Yeah, I mean, from a password protection perspective, though, like you can actually have many characters of different forms and stuff like that, which does make a difference on penetration. I mean, if somebody wants to do something, they're going to be able to do it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's, and I'm never naive to that. Like, I don't think that there's a silver bullet, but I do think that I just mean to say that like they have done some really cool things and updates. And even when I was saying like forestry, mahogany homes, the point I was trying to make is like customers are very happy with a lot of what they're doing and are hyped about a lot of things and are sticking around. But we're not at 200K now that Leagues is over. And arguably in some leagues like League of Legends, I think they did something like that where you'd get like a peak, but then what would happen is you'd see even steeper lower player count average afterwards. Luckily, we didn't see that with old school, but arguably like, cool, we have 200,000 players, but that's only for like the leagues or for that season. And then it's back down to what it was. It's not like and maybe it could even possibly go even lower because some people will just be like, you know what? Maybe we still have active people online, but yeah, maybe they're just like, now I'm getting less XP per hour. I'm not getting the rewards as much. The RNG's worse. So then they just stop playing or burn out or whatever. But yeah, luckily we didn't see that after this leagues, because I could see that happening, like leagues actually being bad for the game in terms of it hypes it up and then people quit the real game after.
Yeah.
And wait for the next leagues.
I think we've seen that with like them paying content creators. I know they paid people to like do Group Iron Man, like people who don't play RuneScape. They pay people like Twitch streamers and stuff to do Group Iron Man, and they had like separate servers for them. So I know I don't know if they did for this league, if they paid anybody to like play it on stream.
Yeah. I mean, I do know that the one thing I respect about them is that they are very community driven, and especially if you compare it to other games and things like that. And I think it could be really easy to just bash them for a ton of things that aren't going right. But I just want to say, like, I think they're doing a lot right. I just think that they would get more buy-in and they'd have more people excited if there weren't certain things that they changed that gave off a perception, like even changing the amount of what it takes to pass a poll. Like you do something like that, kind of, and then afterwards something like sailing, a new skill comes out and there's a vote for it. You're like, ooh, it's not, maybe you didn't do it for that. Like, I'm trying to assume noble intent. Like I really try with people to assume noble intent, but if some things get perceived a certain way, it can be a little bit difficult for people to trust. and then they don't want to get into the buy-in of the next thing very much.
Yeah.
And like, think about how much development time and effort is going into sailing. But like, what if the buy-in isn't that great? And then, it ends up being a real negative. That could be, hopefully Shogun's going to be doing quality assurance on that too. But I don't know. I'm really hopeful. I try to be hopeful, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this year, the roadmap, what it really feels like. Like, the stuff that was on there was a little underwhelming to me personally, but I don't know about you.
I don't know. I think
did you get a chance to look at it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that.
How do you feel about sailing then, in general?
Sailing. I wanted shamanism.
Oh no, you were a shamanism person? Oh
Yeah.
no, man.
Because shamanism was like invention, and invention is one of the coolest skills in RS3.
Yeah, but it's not invention. Just make invention. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Does invention affect combat?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, because you got to put perks on your weapons and you augment them.
Oh, I see.
So like, there's perks you can get for like extra damage to. I know we have like Dragon Bane weaponry and shit like that, but like,
well, that's the only reason I don't play RS3. It's not because I don't think it's cool. I think it's because there's so much augmentations and so many items, and all of the icons and the things of them are so overwhelming, including the user interface, that it's so cumbersome and unsimplified and not elegant that I can't be asked to start.
And for me, once you figure out your sweet spot when it comes to where you want certain things on your action bars, where you want, how you want it to look, if you want it like if you ever, when you watch the podcast back or whatever, or if you go back and watch the old ones and you see how my RS3 setup is, it's a very identical way and look to how old school looks. But it's like
you set it up to feel like kind of like old school, so that it wouldn't be that.
It feels comfortable to me. Yeah, it feels very. But there are places, like there are random things that are much different. Like my magic book is in my chat box.
Yeah, see, like that's well, see, I actually tried to give RS3 a shake because I actually wanted to do an RS3 series, and so I created an account and tried to get it going and stuff. And I got off Tutorial Island. I did some stuff like I did some stuff to get my profile picture for the forums from RS3 for my account, for example, so that like even Temple would show that. And started just interacted with some of the stuff, and it was just, I don't think that you can't get it set up to maybe a cozier position, but there's such a exploratory period where you'd have to like just spend like a lot of time just trying to get it to feel simple.
Oh, I just watched a little guide on it.
Really? Maybe you should send that to me. I should check it out. Because I don't know. For some reason, like the amount of items in RS3 and the fact that like a rune helm doesn't even look like a rune helm to me at all. It is really, in my opinion, it's not a bad thing, but it's just another game. It's not the RuneScape I know, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, and they're like training things. Like there are a few methods that are the same. Like, if you want to train farming, you're still gonna go do farm runs. But now you've got your player-owned farms. You've got your ranch out of time, so you can farm your dinosaurs, you farm your yaks, you farm your chickens, you farm your beehives, and then you also farm your trees and your herbs and your whatever.
Yeah. I think people like cool stuff like that because I feel like the reason why we have mahogany homes and things like that is because like some of those things are cool updates. But I think the reason why people don't, not obviously there are always some, but most people don't complain about it in old school, like, oh sweet, like mahogany homes is awesome, I'm actually enjoying this, is because it's still simple. And I think like as an engineer, like simple and elegant overtakes like complex. Like the more complex it is on instant glance, usually if it's like a boss or an encounter, it's rewarding because eventually once you get that click, it's good. But if it's like the items and the systems and the dailies and the hourlies and all of that, and it's too many, then most people, it's like they either will get really engaged and it'll fit what they're looking for, or they'll just be like, I'll just go, I'll just do something that's more simple. Because if I'm going to do something that complex, I'll play like another MMO,
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's other options for that. There are other options in that vein that are that I would almost rather play than RS3. So if I'm playing like old school and RS3 at the same time, unless it's like, I know some people do that for like the perk of their old school account because they can GP convert, which makes sense. So there might be better RS3 alts for your GP in old school. But yeah, like I would just play another game at the same time as I do Redwoods or something, or I would just enjoy that. I'm still waiting for like, you know, other games like Ashes of Creation or PAX Day or Chrono Odyssey, other things to come out that will actually hit that niche that kind of I had with World of Warcraft for a long time. That I think RS3 is trying to hit too.
I mean, that being said, quick sidebar, like what types of games do you play? Like do you play anything outside of MMOs, or do you mostly focus on RS and like adjacent titles?
Oh yeah, that's a good question because I'm better at combat in other games and better in PvP in other games than I am in RuneScape, in old school especially. I don't mind. I can learn it. It's just not like I don't have the same love for it the way that other people in old school have for PVM and all that. I think Slayer's pretty cool. But yeah, other games that I play, I would say mainly like when I'm not playing this game, I'm playing games with my kids. So, you know, we'll play Pokemon. We do, you know, those types of things. So we do a lot of other games. Like we played Hogwarts Legacy, those types of things. And I enjoy like other genres and watching other games. People play other games as well on Twitch and stuff. For me personally, like the most recent game I played is I was about a year late to actually playing Elden Ring.
Yeah, so you were talking about that, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, like I just didn't have, I got the game and was like really wanting to do it. I watched a couple of streams when it first released. I was kind of, and then I just kind of sat on my machine. I was like, I have never played a Souls game. I am over 30 now. I have to play a Souls game. And it just looked amazing to me from what I could see. And I was like, okay, I don't just want to watch this. I want to play this. And I've been taking more of a boomer approach. I know a lot of people like Souls games is just about min-maxing, getting it done. I've watched a lot of those videos and stuff, and they're really cool. But I've been taking it kind of like an old man and just like exploring, you know, getting things up manually, just like finding things and then using that, like just treating it like it was just released a year ago. And then I ended up like kind of looking up some stuff because I was like, well, I should probably have a general direction of like what I want. And I saw like some build where they're using the Blasphemous Blade, and it was like a faith-based build. And I thought, man, that was cool. Like ranged with a melee weapon, faith-based, and like fire. I mean, and then I found out that apparently it's one of the best items in the game. So I was like, okay. But I really like Elden Ring. I think out of all the games that I've played in a long time, outside of World of Warcraft, Elden Ring is probably my favorite game that I could actually say. And it's very different than the old school RuneScape feel, right? It's an entirely different genre. And it's very fantasy driven, and it's also not an MMO. So it's I really enjoy it. I think that game is incredible.
I think as far as games go that have come out, whether it be coming out recently or just games in general, is I have loved almost every moment of Baldur's Gate 3 I've played.
Oh yeah, that game's good too.
But my favorite.
You doing it by yourself or with the party?
I'm just playing by myself.
Oh, that's cool.
But my favorite game or game series of all time is the Persona series.
Oh, is that a racing game?
No, Persona is like a JRPG, turn-based monster collection, dating sim, life sim, all mixed in one, I guess.
Wow, sounds pretty cool.
So like
interesting.
The idea of Persona is the first one I played was 5. Everybody says like 5 is the best one to get into if you're ever going to play them, and they finally like brought them all to like modern platforms, because for a long time you couldn't play 3 or 4 unless you had like, you can only play 4 if you had a PS2 or if you had a PS Vita, which is like not something everybody had. And then 3 you can only play if you had a PS2 or a PSP. So it was
interesting. Okay, I remember PSP. I had one of those.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
and then people say 1 and 2 are fairly irrelevant when it comes to modern Persona, but it's like,
to be honest, it looks like a game that you could almost even play on mobile.
Yeah, so like You can buy all 3, 4, and 5 for Switch right now.
Oh, okay. Then maybe I'll do that. I'll give it a go. I mean, it's definitely like an anime style, which is usually not most of my style. I like to watch anime, but I haven't really played like much of Final Fantasy online, for example, or Genshin Impact, or like. But this looks kind of like a more expanded, more up my alley kind of
Yeah, a lot of the
game.
systems do get complex, but once you're like into the game and like because it's a very slow paced game. Like I think it took me about 120 hours to finish Persona 5 for the first time.
Oh, okay.
So they're
And is that
long.
just going through it or like learnability? Because for example, Elden Ring, people are like, "What? You've already spent like that many hours and you're not done yet?" But it's because it's so open that you could obviously spend a lot of time exploring and things. Is it more like it took 120 hours just doing the like? Is it linear basically? Do they give you like a direct path and you just follow that till you're finished?
There is like the story is fairly linear, but the way you go
Mhm.
about like each because you play out each day for like a calendar year.
That's kind of a cool concept.
So like you
Like
like
the
there are
days actually matter.
yeah, like the days matter.
Kind of
Like
like
cuz
Animal Crossing, but it seems like more literal. That's kind of
yes.
cool.
So like for example, like when you go into the dungeons, there becomes a point where you only have a certain amount of real life days in the game to like finish the dungeon. And if you don't finish the dungeon, it's game over.
Oh,
Because like
so
your real life
okay.
consequences will like overlap from you not finishing the dungeons.
And then you basically reset, or how does that?
Yeah,
Is
you
it
have to
super punishing?
like basically yeah, you're like your game's over.
Is it Majora's Mask level or worse? I don't know if
No.
that's a good.
No, it's
Okay,
not.
because did you ever
Cuz
play
it's
Majora's Mask?
a long time ago, but it's
Yeah.
not that punishing in the same sense that like it's very hard not to meet the deadlines.
Oh,
You
okay.
have a lot of
Okay.
leeway. It's
Yeah.
not like a very difficult thing unless you're playing like
Like
the
yeah,
hardest
agreed.
difficulty and like doing super bit hard challenges and stuff.
Like
Like
it's kind of like you make it what you want basically. If you want to go for all that and try to do it in the time frame, it can be harder. But if you're more casual, you'll be okay.
yeah.
That's cool.
So
Yeah, no,
that's
I'll definitely have to check
my
it out because if it's on the Switch, and I always like trying stuff, I definitely try a lot of things.
yeah.
I just don't stick with them unless they're really truly compelling. That's my main thing, and like there isn't many games that are that compelling to me long term.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that like kind of stems like I'm a very similar mindset. I think that stems from like the RuneScape mindset is like having a game I can play forever and not be bored of it. It's very like rare.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
like the only
it's into the kind that you think about and want to get back to.
yeah, and the only other
Those
game that
ones
I
aren't.
have
Mhm.
like an even comparable amount of hours is going to be Counter Strike.
Oh, okay, that seems like a good one to have it in then.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
just
I mean,
passed like
that's understandable.
around 2,300 hours in Counter Strike, which is like for a RuneScape player, it's not that much because I've got I think like 4,400 hours on Mayfield, something like that.
Yeah, but you can't compare any other game at a RuneScape gamer. Like the amount of time it takes to get 199 in old school is a max level 60 in classic WoW.
Yeah,
Like other game, like people don't understand it. Like even somebody like who's really relatively known in gaming community like Asmongold couldn't even finish RuneScape. So it's like, and there's a lot of other reasons for that, but I don't think even somebody like him could compute to like how much you can play this game. And then
yeah,
even all of the varieties of different things. Like the longevity of it is pretty in like there's nothing quite like in other games. I guess maybe like GTA like RP
yeah,
could
like
have that
yeah,
longevity,
for
like
sure, or like
replayability.
a Skyrim RP type thing, or
Hmm. Yeah, Elden Ring seems to have quite a bit of longevity, even because there seems to still be even videos about stuff that I'm looking at now on it. But yeah, I mean, most games they just don't have like the replayability that's enjoyable. So it's RuneScape stands apart, man. And I still don't know why other games won't just look at the proof in the pudding that it's proven with old school. Like
who
the amount
knows?
of like for WoW Classic Plus and like just the whole season of Discovery thing, which is another game that I've played like almost my whole life, is WoW at various phases and different X packs and stuff. And also back when I was younger and played alongside RuneScape Classic and BC and Wrath. That like the amount of buy-in that they need to they needed to even release Classic, and then the amount of buy-in that they somehow need to convince and within their company to do Classic Plus is like it's like the players are like arm wrestling them to do something that's been proven and successful in Jagex. So I don't know why like the idea of taking old things and making new variations of them is so, I don't know, companies seem to not be really about it, but I think it's a great idea. Would you ever play a game that is, let's call it RuneScape 4? Would you ever play a game that's built in this IP but built with like Unreal Engine? That would be like a whole new MMORPG of RuneScape that's at like a high graphic fidelity, still has all the concepts of all the skills, maybe including old school and RS3 skills, but is just like completely different, like but has the IP? Or would you not even be interested in something like that?
I think almost anything that Jagex puts their hands on, I would try. Because like I've been curious about like the RuneScape board game and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Son Hurts Me got that. Like he pre-ordered it back when it was like, I think Kickstarter or something. He just got his.
Yeah.
And it looked really cool.
And that's the thing is I think that the longer that RuneScape goes on and the more like dedicated the fan base stays, I'm hoping that they'll realize they don't have to do all these cash grab shit, because like we're going to keep paying month per month if we're enjoying the game. If we keep getting quality content, good quality assurance updates, meaningful things coming to the game, I'm going to keep paying month. I don't buy bonds. I don't have time to play a money alt. Both my accounts I play are accounts that I just play. So I pay for a year each time on both of my accounts. So I pay, what is it, like $140 a year to play this game?
Oh yeah, do you pay like month to month, or do you buy it all up front?
I buy
mine a year.
So on Mayfield I buy it a year up front, and because my alt accounts I tend to switch accounts around. Like I just started another new one on RS3 that I've been having fun with, ironically.
Yeah.
So I pay month for month, and then if I get tired of one, I usually cancel membership. So like on average I pay for 2. There are occasions like right now when I'm paying for 3.
We spend a lot of money on this game, bro.
Dude, I know.
Like if you think about it, like imagine if World of Warcraft required you to pay an extra $7 to have an alt character to play for your membership. Like, I don't think people really realize, like, we spend a lot more on this game than most games. Unless you include microtransactions of other games, then obviously. But some people probably do in RS3, but
people
like,
spend
it adds up, dude.
People spend a shit ton of money on RS3.
Yeah, I mean, because like even in old school people do, because I know somebody who 5 years ago that was a level 3 was really rich in real life, and they just used like the wealth that they got from their father basically and purchased 200 mil cooking through bonds. Like the moment bonds became a thing, they switched from RS3 to old school because they could buy 200 mils through bonds. Like the GP in game legally, right? No ban. But yeah, it's actually a lot, because you like, even for me, I just was doing something. I wanted to do Lost City. I had dropped my Draymond staff. I wanted to get it back before this bingo comp that our clan Transcend is doing. And I just had to basically rep bomb the zombies. And so I had to bond up like 3 retribution alts. And that was like 3 bonds, which are like 10 mil each. So it's like 30 mil in game, maybe a little bit more. But I'm like, I'm not going to, farm out the GP. I'll just bond up each of them, even though I'm not even using them for all 14 days. I just needed to use them for that. And now they just are going to sit until they run out of membership again. Yeah. But it's like stuff like that happens. And they even make money off of name changes, right? Because if you want an early name change, you want a bond, boom, money there. They don't ever really tell us like the financial details of the company, but I'd be curious, even just from a stat perspective, unless they like literally do no analytics, which would be kind of silly or foolish. But like, I'd be curious how many people utilize or consume a bond for early name changes. Like there might be a decent amount of profit they make even just by having that. But yeah,
it's definitely one of those things to consider, like how many, like, because old school, like you said, we don't have like almost any microtransactions. The closest we get is bonds and early name changes and just having membership. I'd be curious as to if they can make any money off of like a half bond.
Oh yeah, where it's just like a 7 day.
Like yeah,
Oh, they, you know what,
like a five
they
or seven
would,
day
but they
for
won't.
like exactly for the
You
things that
know,
you're talking about, like the people who have an account that they want to use for maybe 2 days, or like the guys who play hardcore and they want to like learn something really quick on their main, so they bought it up for just like 2 days and do it. Like
and the only reason I know that they won't do it is because it's a lot like, hey, if you pay me, they're paying them $10, and will you do something that'll allow me to pay $5? They won't,
yeah,
because they know
exactly.
that people will pay the 14, or they'll pay the amount for the 14 days, even if they're going to use it for 3.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
the thing. It's like, here's what I think. Okay, now you got Jagex accounts. Well, how about it's just membership for whatever one account playing at a time. So like if I'm only playing one account, I can have membership on any of the accounts on my Jagex Guardian. That seems fair.
I
These
think
are
or
all
discount.
accounts.
I also think discounted membership for like, so if I'm paying
Yeah. That's,
$14 a
that's what I'm
month,
trying to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then I could pay like half to add another account. I could pay an extra
And that's what
seven
I'm
to have
trying to
another
say
account.
is will they do it? That's
No,
what I'm trying to say is will they do it? Probably not,
no,
because they're already making the profit.
yeah,
So it'd be like, oh, we're actually making less profit than we realized to do something that's really good for the players. But they probably won't do that because, again, it would be a cut to their current profit they're already yielding. And that's the thing that I'm scared about with Jagex as a company, is that they have lived so much off the IP without really expanding it into, I mean, they don't. That's what's crazy is like the IP is so unique and great. It's such classic high fantasy. There's so much creativity. There's so much that could be done, but they're limiting it to a point click based game MMO.
and I think that well, they did. There's an author that did do 3 books.
Yeah, so then they even have lore. I mean, the lore of this game and like the influence of Tolkien on the Third Age and the Third Age armor and all of the quest storylines and everything. Like, I just don't understand why they think that, like, why they haven't expanded. But I think the thing is they just yield so much profit off of what's a good thing they already have going.
Yeah,
And so it's kind of like, as a development company, and this is a good example because Blizzard is this example, like a walking example, just over time, it just becomes, the company starts to settle because they're, and make, they start to settle because they have something that was working and making them really, handling everything really well for them. But after a certain amount of time, it starts to have like less and less, diminishing. It's just diminishing returns. And I'm curious, like what they'll be able to profit off of old school RuneScape in like 5 years from now, and if it'll even be the same as now, and if the life cycle of it will go that good. It sounds like RS3 is getting less attention, which is interesting. Do you think that like RS3 is gonna like they're gonna lower the amount of servers? Or
no,
a lot of RS3 devs have come to the old school team.
yeah. I think Shogun was a big surprise to a lot of people from what I
Were
like
there
have
people
heard from
disappointed by
videos.
that?
Yeah, because he was a really good quality like mod for the RS3 game, which is why like
Well,
I think he'll be
that's probably why we took him.
probably be a great
Our team.
addition to the old school team. I think I could see them like giving less attention to RS3 in like the content area because they probably make so much money from microtransactions. And there's a lot of people who play RS3 who are like very close to finished. Like
Mm.
you get whenever somebody hits a 200 mil or whatever, like it gets broadcasted across the entire game. And whenever somebody gets like a cool drop or 99, it gets broadcasted across like that server you're on.
Mm-hmm.
So like not just your clan chat or whatever. I see people getting completionist capes, trim comp, master quest capes, 200 mils, 120s all day. It never ends. Like every
So
probably
there's a very active community of people that are really playing it, to where even if they give it less attention, or they don't give it, as much new features, or they don't give it, they, don't have the quality assurance, people are still so engaged in it, doing like the peak things that you could do.
yes. And I think the other thing
That,
about it is
yeah.
there's been so many creators or people like yourself and like me initially who said I won't give RS3 a chance because it's so overwhelming. So I think
Well, that's
maybe
because I
there's
think it's like
a
a game that it's a game that, like, it's, for at least I'm only going to speak from my perspective anecdotally, but as a person who doesn't want all that crap, let's just say it like that, right?
yeah.
That's why I quit. And then that's why I came back when the poll was going on. I voted on the poll from So Wrecked. Like that's why I came back to old school. It was entirely the fact that like you're trying to do something that I can just do better in World of Warcraft. But at the time, World of Warcraft was so superior in so many other ways, but it never had the skilling system. Like I don't understand this. I don't understand why MMOs today can't do both. Like the skilling system in old school, where you can do everything on one account, is incredible. And you can do that
Oh
in
my,
Final Fantasy, from what I've heard.
it's so
You
nice.
can, yeah, like I don't understand why all these games have to like profession tier only one thing. Like old school does this all and has an economy. I don't understand like why they won't, Jagex won't just take their amazing, incredible IP and build. I don't know, when I played this in the beginning, I thought they were going to pull an RS2 on us, because RuneScape Classic to RS2 is a great example of what they could do with something like RS3 to RS4. And they could get, with their IP being so good, they could go out and get so many people who would be, you know, WoW wanderers or other MMO wanderers if they took the concepts of something like RS3 but built it in a system that was less limited. That's kind of how I look at it. Like the reason why I feel is overwhelming is it feels like it's a click-based game that's over limited. It's one reason I can't play Albion online. Or like I'm not a big fan of like, I don't know, I don't like the way that those games feel when you move around. And that's just weird, but even in old school, like I use my mouse to move my camera angle all the time.
I do too. I use my middle
I
mouse button. Yeah.
It's the only thing about Baldur's Gate 3 that I didn't like, was just like it was a little bit annoying of how I felt moving, because I wasn't used to that type of game like on a digital game, you know. I love D&D, so that was like when you said you were playing that, I'm like, yeah, that's a great game.
I
But
love D&D as well.
yeah, so like I played that because I like D&D, but it, you know, it wasn't something that like I really enjoyed the feeling of playing. Like the gameplay feeling wasn't like a thing I felt like this is my main game now. But I do think that if they came out with like an RS4 game that was like their best attempts to create the best MMORPG for the next like 30 years, I think that they could actually dispatch a lot of talent, and they could really even, you know, maybe even 2x their company. But I don't know. I think they undervalue their IP. I don't know. Like the classic fantasy of like dwarves and elves and the gods and all of this stuff, and then like all the different skilling methods like that they
Well,
use
and
that other games don't. I
fuck,
don't know.
there's so much more lore in RS3 too. Like
Yeah.
it's insane. Like because right now, like when you do a quest in RS3, it tells you this is a fifth age quest. This is before the gods came back to RuneScape. And then there was the quest The World Wakes. After The World Wakes, every quest that was released after The World Wakes is now a sixth age quest. RuneScape literally went from fifth to sixth age during like an MMO time.
Well, see, and like that's super cool to me, because you could do stuff that makes it really interesting. Like you don't allow people to do a fifth age quest until they've completed all the third and fourth age quests.
Yeah.
So like you could even have like because what I don't like is like with WoW, for example, they have all these X packs, but they've cannibalized themselves. So like nobody's going to go do that unless they're trying to start a BattleNet account all over again. And a lot of the content just gets cannibalized because it's like, okay, well, there's no reason to go there. If I can go do the 6 age quest and it's way better, then I'm never going to do that other quest unless I'm trying to be a completionist. And maybe it's doable. But from what I've heard and from what I've seen from the art, I do think that like there is a really large potential for taking it a little bit more realistic, but applying all of the wins from both games
Mm-hmm.
into a brand new game. But most people would say in old school, I think anybody who plays old school RuneScape or anybody who plays RS3 will say, nah, I don't really need that game, because they have the current games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
That's
there's
why.
a lot of people would not be willing to give it a try. I think the game that you're talking about, the one community it would banner to is like your big MMO creators, or like you said, like your Asmongold, like they would come try it, or like the people who are like hype for New World, they'll definitely come try it, or like I don't know, People,
Well, look
people,
at
people who
Leagues of Legend was going to do it. Is I don't know if they're still doing it with some of the stuff they've had, but they're doing an MMO, and that's like they're taking from their League's IP and they're building something really big and major. And I've never played League of Legends,
it
so
sucks. Don't
for
play it.
me, I would. But you think about this: I'd never played it, and that's what I've heard from everybody who plays it. So that's why I've never played it. But even I would try out their MMO.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
my thought process is like, look at how much Asmongold gave attention to RuneScape for a moment, but he didn't keep playing it because it's not his type of game.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, I just don't understand. Like the board game is a good example of them doing something cool, like something outside of their ecosystem, but using their IP, the books. That's another good, solid example. And it's like, when you look at those examples, they're wins. So I don't know, man. I just think that like,
All that being said,
yeah, I
would you watch a RuneScape like anime or TV show?
There's
Something
another example.
something based
Like,
in Gillinor?
dude, like think about think about something as simple as like the Lumbridge, with the Lumbridge castle and the goblins and all of that. Like, we're talking about classic fantasy that put in a different lens and a different view would scratch an itch that's that's in a general broader community. Sometimes I don't think it's that I think it's that they think too little.
I think one thing is what we got to think about here is look at the kind of creators like Settled who has appealed to far more than just the RuneScape community because of the way he's told the stories in this game. So imagine what they could do.
Or even Jimmy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, or Jimmy as well.
Quest series.
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing. Like, their biggest people that they love to support, and all of that, and like that have been explosive from our community. Let's just say maybe they're now in other communities like Raj Patel and stuff, but like Ice Poseidon, all those different people came from this community. Like, this community is a lot of people play this game. And I just think that like the IP itself is so underrated. And I think that because like, even with, watching the Lord of the Rings on Amazon Prime series, like, because I love Tolkien, and I know that this game was created out of also an influence of Tolkien and D&D from the original devs that created RuneScape, but like, it was okay, but it wasn't even that good. Why? Because it didn't really scratch the itch of like what the fantasy is. And like, for example, I would probably play Final Fantasy, but that's not my type of fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more medieval fantasy. I'm more medieval high fantasy. That's what I like. So, and I don't really think that many games have done that really, really well. Maybe like, it pretty much would come down to Jagex and Warcraft, which are like two of the biggest games in the last 20 plus years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, most
it's
people
definitely like a
play
thing to think
World of
about.
Warcraft or RuneScape at some point, that
Yeah.
I've talked to. Like, my wife played RuneScape, and she doesn't even game. That was like a childhood memory of her playing RuneScape with her older cousin. And, like, he would like all the stuff that you could imagine. Like, she even knew what it was, and she's like not a gamer at all. So
it's weird. It's weird,
yeah.
like how much some of these games have like touched people's lives in ways that you can't even imagine. Like, I don't know. It's like those weird things, like people you grew up with who you didn't really know a lot about, but you're still friends on Facebook or whatever, and then they post something that you remember from your childhood. You're like, oh, I didn't know we shared that exact same experience and never talked about it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I equate it to.
And that's kind of like, I think this is the reason I bring this up, and even though it's kind of outside of our time, is like, I have a 10-year-old, an almost 4-year-old, and like a 9-month-old. And when I see what's coming out for them, and what I've started to do because of them, is think about the future in a different way than like, I think a lot of, let's just be honest, like, I was once also single, or had a relationship, like maybe not even interested in having kids, that kind of thing. Like, the way I thought about the future was more like, I guess when I get there, I'll get there. And I would kind of plan some things around it to try to get to some goals. But like, when you think about the next generation, you start thinking a lot about like, what's the next thing that's going to secure them for the next 25 years, and what's going to be out there, in comparison to that. And I'm like looking at some of the games that, Light No Fire. And I'm like, my daughter is going to love that game. Like, man, all the Pokemon games she plays, like Violet, I've watched her dominate that game. I'm like, I can't even imagine this. When I was in the 90s, like I had a Game Boy with red, red version.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
the Pokemon was, so it's like sometimes I think like Jagex has lived a lot off of old school and RS3. And I'm getting to the point where I don't know, I don't know what the future of me becoming older really looks like for me playing the game if they don't do something that's I don't know, more intense. And maybe they're planning on it and it's something out there, but I think they need to do something with their IP to reach a wider margin of a larger group of people because the IP is just so good. I just
100%.
hope that they do. Yeah. But I love old school and still then, but it's something that we play for hours and hours a day, or
It's something
even
I'll
now,
log
like,
in at work and just do a quick farm run. It's just like small
yeah,
things.
dude, like people will be like, man, you're UIM, they always joke, you probably get this too. Like, you're UIM level 3, what a no life.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
bro, I work like a full-time job. I got a part-time passion gig. I have an LLC. I've been married. I'm be celebrating 12 years this month. I've got 3 kids in, T-ball. And, then we're involved in the community. We're involved in our church and stuff like that. So it's like, I do a lot of stuff and spend a lot of time outside the game and I still play the game.
It's all
So
about
to me, it's like,
consistency, not about like sweating 12 hours a day. It's about,
yeah,
getting your hour in here and there, getting, everybody's down for bed. I'm going to play for a couple hours, then I'm going to go to bed at
yeah,
a healthy time. I'm not going to stay up till 2 a.m. and then wake up at 7 for my job.
yeah.
I'm going to go to bed at a normal time, but I'm going to squeeze in what time I can get because it's something I enjoy doing.
And that's what I'm saying is that's a lot of because of how the IP and the game itself, but it's a lot of like what I think people don't realize is it's a lot of that is the IP. Like it's yeah, I don't know, man. But it's very interesting, like consistency over intensity, because I argue it's, at least as somebody who used to play not 16 hours a day, but somebody who used to play 10 to 12 hours a day at one point in my life. I argue, at least personally for me, it's harder to play 1 hour a day for most people that play RuneScape or old school RuneScape than it is to play 10 hours a day. Because when you play 10 hours a day, you see a lot of the results. You
Yeah.
see a lot of you get a lot out of it. So then when you finish the day, you're like, I really did a lot today. I can see where I'll be, like this big goal I have, like but when you play 1 hour a day or you miss a day, then you hop on and you only get to play an hour, you start to not see much progress. So it actually becomes much harder to be consistent, which is why I think, people who even put in 12 or 16 hours a day, if all of a sudden life changes and they're doing something else and now they can only do 8 hours, a lot of them will drop off. And then there's a lot of them that are right now that play the game that aren't, they don't have kids and stuff maybe yet. So they might drop off a little bit more. But I think they need to do something big for the next generation because of that. Because I think that there's a lot of people who aren't going to be consistent when their life changes more. And now that the demographics getting older, especially as people start hitting 30, there's like a lot of people I know who play that are like 27.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't hit that, like, I'm 30 now, and still playing this game. And Yahoo, like RIP Tony, will probably still all be doing it. But it is one of the things that I think about is like how much I love this game, but how much I'd love it to be in something that like my kids will look at and respect and be like, wow, like as a gamer myself, I can understand why you poured out all those hours into this, as a secondary or under prioritizing my family, because my family always comes first. But sometimes I do wonder, like, oh, is the buy-in worth it? It's hard to walk away from for a lot of people because they've been with the IP for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But
So
yeah, UIM max goals. Let's go. Are you maxing soon?
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how long it takes me to finish doing the feud and finish some of the poison dynamite shit.
Well, if
Right.
you need any help with that, I've done all of it. So I can definitely, send anything I have that's different from my videos, or, I know it can be annoying, basically.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll say the only big thing right now is I'm just like while I'm growing the Nightshade, I'm just AFKing stars right now because my inventory is pretty full of shit. Um, so I've just been doing stars, and then once I eventually finish all that, then I'll cut all those gems from stars and then continue back. And I'm hoping that like all this AFK time, with all the stardust I have, will get me at least a crafting level or two, so it doesn't feel like a waste of time.
Yeah,
But at the same time, like I knew after
I
two
can't
mil,
imagine doing that all the way to 99 craft or something.
I knew that after 2 mil fire making, I'd want a break from the intensity. So I have been playing my RS3 account a little bit more active and playing OSRS a little bit less active. But I know that once I, complete the feud and first when I get the unlimited cave nightshade where I can just hop worlds.
Hmm.
And then once I complete
That's
the
a big
feud,
difference.
yeah.
That's a big difference. That's why it's like we got to help you get past that ogre tooth, because once you've got past that ogre tooth and you got that unlimited PD, and then eventually you're able to get some additional benefits like the Kandarian Easy Diary helmet, so you can not even have to have an inventory for lighting up the cave when you hop. You can even use like the Rune Light cycle plugin, so you just press a button to hop in the worlds in a cycle, so you don't end up like you can just keep hopping through the same worlds with a button
Mm-hmm.
to click the cave night. Like it becomes like actually really good. I mean, I had to get it. I didn't even have stackable when I did all combat. There was no such thing as stackable nightshade.
Yeah, that was a huge quality
So
of
I
life.
had to do, yeah, I had to do that because the farming of that was really, really slow and it didn't matter. So it was better to get the unlock. Now with that, like arguably, it's a kind of a good, especially UIM, it's really good early to just get the hunter, get the imps, get the belladonnas, start farming them, get them stackable in one place, and then get your noted ones from the Inferno, Xerix Telly spot and start just doing PD whenever you want. But yeah, that's a big unlock for like in between the farm runs. But if you have stackable, like you could probably do a lot with that and get a lot done.
Mm-hmm. And so like that's kind of where I'm at right now. That's kind of
Cool.
my currency. Like I did get
I respect that. I
99
respect that
mining.
you finished the 200 mil and you're not like, now I just need to go for another one.
Yeah, I'm
Because
most
I
people
kind of
like
respect that a lot. A lot of people tend to just like, one's done next. And I just don't know how people have that level of intensity, but I also have a lot going on. So,
yeah, same.
you
And
know,
like and there are weeks where I'll play 5 hours in the work week and not that much at all. And there are weeks where I'll come home and my partner is working the evening shift, so I have nothing else to do. So I'll just sit here and I'll play all day.
which is great. Like when you're in that season and you can do it, there is literally nothing wrong with that at all. Like you got to enjoy that, you know?
Yeah, and then when we both have days off together, of course, I very rarely play on those days.
Yeah.
Um, but if I do play any video games, it's like we'll hang out all day and then I'll play Counter Strike at night with my friends.
See, and that's like me, man. I wake up, I do my like devotional stuff I do in the morning. Then my son's up at like 6:30 a.m. We hang out with breakfast. Then my wife gets up with my third child. He's a baby, well, 8 months, but then I go work all day. Then I help at lunchtime because I work from home, like with putting one of them down for nap. Then I barely get even a moment for my lunch, but I eat my lunch and then I go back to work. I get off work. It's usually family time, dinner time. Then we usually do like hang out, play, wrestle, games, all that stuff. Usually like family worship, we'll have like a dessert. And then by that time, it's usually bedtime. By the time we're doing bedtime, I get both of my oldest to bed. I spend time with my youngest. I get him to bed. Our middle child, and then my oldest, she's 10, but we always read. I always hang out with her in her room every single night. Like it's our time to sync and just hang out. Then I'd hang out with my wife. By the time I'm done with that, it's 10 p.m. and I have to do the whole thing over again. So I usually only play between 10 p.m. and like midnight, sometimes a little bit past, obviously. And that's like my chill time. That's like my time to just enjoy and relax and like not do other stuff. But usually I am, right? Usually I'm watching videos or maybe I'm working on another project at the same time. So, it's like once you start doing that and you do that like 5 days, 6 days a week, you really don't have a whole lot of time. So you you basically play when there's that window, which for you it sounds like is when your partner's at work.
Yeah, or when I don't have other obligations, like I'm in a band, so I have to spend some time writing the album. You know, we have shows we play. I do, other stuff like with other friends. You know, there's other projects I want to work on, other games I want to play. You know,
Yeah, man. I mean, that's kind of hit my gains recently, and to be honest, almost burned me out with the state of the game. And some of the stuff we've talked about. I started playing Elden Ring,
hmm
and I was like, I had both open, and I was trying to do Redwoods at the same time. I was like, I'm just too embedded into Elden Ring right
I
now.
if I'm
So I
playing
just
another
stopped playing
game,
RuneScape really for like 3 days, 4 days.
yeah, if I'm playing another game, I don't play RuneScape while I'm playing it. I want to enjoy that game. It's the same thing.
Yep,
Like I stopped. There are small things in life. Like I stopped playing while I'm eating. If I'm eating, I'm not playing a game.
that's
I'm
smart.
I'm watching. I love watching like food videos and food shows and food like YouTube. So I use that time when I'm eating to enjoy the food more by like watching somebody else make something cool, and then I have ideas. Like I was just out grocery shopping and I almost bought a pork butt or a pork shoulder to do some pulled pork, but they only had 17-pound packs, and I don't have room for that in my freezer.
Yeah, that's a cool way to do it. Like separating and getting a refresh away from it instead of like always depending on it. Because I do think it's like I don't know, maybe it's a hot take, but I do think the game is very addicting.
Oh
And
yeah,
I can say that because like I should have quit this game a long time ago. I don't think the devastation of it, like if my house wasn't in order, my marriage wasn't in order, my raising of my kids, my relationships with other people, our friends, our mutual friends, like even our church and like how much we're embedded in the community, the stuff that my kids have been going on. Like if I was neglecting any of that, then yeah, I would have quit like like a while ago.
there were definitely times in
Um,
my life I did neglect things over wanting to, like, not even just playing RuneScape in general, but playing video games in general as like an
yeah,
escapism type thing.
yeah,
And as you grow up, I think you kind of find more of that balance.
yeah.
I never like I used to play at work a lot, and now I just don't, because that's my time. Like even if I'm not doing anything at work, I don't want the
It's very difficult to multitask and like you're just basically do you feel like it's teasing you? Like do you feel like if you do it you're just kind of teasing you, or do you feel like it's like wait, I'm supposed to be present in what I'm doing right now and now I'm giving this presence to something that it's not really the time for it.
No, I feel like it's hard to like articulate, but
Yeah, I was kind
I
of curious.
I feel like it's the same thing with eating. It's a separation thing for me,
Mhm.
because for me, playing video games, winding down, that's something I look forward to doing when I get home, because of like maybe a long day or maybe just a boring day and I want something a little bit more exciting. So if my entire day is spent playing the game, then there is nothing to like want to wind down from. It's just always been playing the game. So that's why even on like
Mhm.
Saturdays and like today on a Sunday, like
Mhm.
when we stop recording, I am going to like get off and I'm going to go drive to my
Yeah.
parents' house. And then when I come
Yeah.
back, I'll be excited to play again.
Right. You're creating space. You're basically what you're doing is, from what I understand, is, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but what it seems like you're doing is you're creating healthy space so that you actually enjoy the thing that you're doing more than if you didn't have the space, and the returns are diminishing, especially in dopamine. If you just are like doing one thing repetitively, it can be really enjoyable and you can endure it and like justify it. But you actually like by not eating the same thing every single time, obviously you're going to enjoy with that next meal better.
Yeah.
So taking it like, for example, the same thing. I'm about to be, once we're done with this, I'm about to go meet up with a bunch of the T-ball coaches. We're doing our background checks. We're going to grab the equipment gear. I'm going to come back. I'm going to hang out with my family. I'm not going to be playing. We already did a bunch of stuff this morning before this. Like the weekends are my weekends still.
hmm
Like if the game is dominating those other things, and when I come back to it, I appreciate it because it didn't negatively affect, but also not even negatively affect. Let's just say it didn't like I wasn't doing it all day. So when I get to do it, I'm more excited about to do it. I think that's actually what's kept me going.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Like when I was going for tournament
For
fire
years.
making, at the end, I was literally like logging into mobile at work to just to finish it, just because I was that into it. And that's a very very rare instance for me. Is like, um, I think at like when you're at the home stretch or something is when like you really want to get it done.
Mhm.
Whereas some people I think will savor those moments and like kind of drag them as long as they can, and some people
Mhm.
like me, like when I got to like that last 5 mil XP, I finished the last 5 mil I think a day and a half, which is
Yeah, like
like
you were so close to finishing it, so you just busted it out.
yeah. Whereas most other times I'd only get like 500k to a mil a day at max.
Well, consistency is so superior. I mean, MLK is an example of this with mining. And I like his approach to it. I really, really respect because it's like he wasn't just only doing tick manipulation for his mining speed. He would do MLM too.
Mm-hmm,
And it was just like I remember him setting his goals in the very beginning, and it was the goals were very, you know, realistic, right? And then anything you get above that is exciting, or you can set a really high bar and you're constantly under delivering to your own goal, right?
for
And
sure.
so it's like it actually diminishes that like that goal, but like you can do it. Like you could have if you did 5 mil, in a day and a half, you could have done 5 mil, if you really wanted to and it was a priority, but it would have made it, possibly you would have never even have gotten a 200 mil because you were so focused on pushing it that you would have gone beyond like what was healthy and then you wouldn't
And
have even gotten there.
that's why like it took me so long to finish the 200 mil, because like when I got the DX at like 126, I got really like I was pushing really hard at that point because I really wanted the DX,
Yeah.
and then I got it, and it was like, well, now what?
Yeah. Well, the reason I bring it up is because I know this is a hot take from my end, but I respect people who achieve like what you achieved the way that you achieved it more than I respect the achievements from people who it's a lot easier for them to do. And I know that that's like it's still just the achievement, and it's about what people personally enjoy, right? Like if they're going for 200 mils so that other people will give them validation, and that's why they're doing it, they shouldn't do that, in my opinion, right? They should do it for their enjoyment. But like to me, if I see somebody who plays 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day, and they get 200 mil, 200 mil, 200 mil, 200 mil, 200 mil, I don't have 200 mils. It's not that like impressive to me if that's, if they're at that rate. What to me, what's impressive is adversity. Like if somebody just gets something and they just have it, it's like, cool, you have it. Like, awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm happy for them and all that. But like what I look at and distinguish is the adversity that was required to actually obtain it. So like one person maxing, they might be able to do that in some crazy efficiency because that's what they're doing every day for work. They're a streamer, whatever else. I still respect it. I'm not saying that I disrespect people because it's different. But I look at it and I think, yeah, that's cool. Like you got 200 mil fire making. Cool. But when I see somebody like you get 200 mil fire making and what you had to do to get there, I have like much more, it has more prestige to me personally. And also it makes the person who's doing it like really respectable to me because it's almost like it's just more difficult to do and stay consistent with and get there. And and also people question whether you'll actually get there. I don't know
Oh
how you
yeah,
felt like
there was
maybe
definitely
people question whether you were going to get there or not.
there was a lot of times people that told me like, oh, you're never gonna finish because you burnt out. And I'm like,
Yeah, what is that about, dude? Like
I'm just like, I'll finish
you're like,
eventually,
yeah, I
just not right
burnt the
now.
last log. Yeah, you're like, actually, I just burnt the log for 200 mil. So, yeah, no,
There was definitely
that's,
people
yeah,
who thought I would never finish it, including
dude,
myself
it's
at one
so
point.
weird.
Like I
Yeah.
even myself at one point, I thought, nah, I might never do this. And
Well,
then there'd
see, I
be
don't know what it is. There's something about this community where people think that if they're toxic in an egg on, that'll egg you to do it. And it's just weird. It's like, no, it won't. Just be telling me like you're gonna get there, bro. And you will. Like I remember when Goose was getting 99 prayer, like we would talk all the time in game and stuff. And I would just be like, dude, you're gonna get there. I can't wait to see it. Like I just don't understand why people can't encourage the goal. Because the thing is, if somebody doesn't get there, they won't. But what do you have to do to influence it? Like what you should be saying is what you will. And if they don't, then they don't. And it's like, okay, I was wrong. But like I hate this like inverse prove it reality that's like very unhealthy. Where imagine like somebody had said that to you and you're like, you know what, like you said, even I wasn't sure I would. It's like, okay, well, then you never, that's just like such a I don't know why people have to treat it like that, but I don't know.
Mhm.
I always felt like I was like, yep, I know Mayfield's gonna get it eventually. Like I don't know, I
We'll
just
get we'll
have
get there
a
one day. We
we'll
did.
get there. Bro, we'll get there. Like it, and that's the thing. I don't know. Like I wish that was. I know that for Transcend, that's a community that I've built with Maven and Void Lords and Iron Flash and I Relent and Sun Hurts Me and a lot of other players. Like we've built it around like people come in with no EHP and people are at the top tier of the leaderboards with the EHP for that build. And it's like it's such an exciting thing to see people again transcend beyond what they think that they're able to do because the community is so bent on like, well, yeah, like we're here and we're going to do it together kind of thing. But like,
Hmm.
we're not going to, I don't know, we still banter and stuff, but we're not like, oh, you're not going to achieve your goals. Like it is just so negative. I know Sun Hurts Me got 200 mil mining from MLM.
Yeah,
Like that's so
I
beast.
on one of my weird
All the nuggets he
like
has.
alt accounts, I saw him there a few times.
Yeah, like I just like the amount of golden nuggets that man has is a record. Like I don't know, it's just yeah. So I mean I don't mean to beat it with a dead horse because we're probably getting close to wrapping up, but I think that I just wanted to say that because I didn't get to be there at your 200 mil farm making, and I really had wanted to because I've been around since you started that goal, and I'm glad that you're able to hit it, and I thought that that was pretty cool, and I think it embodies a lot of like a lot of players think that they can't do things, and they might listen to this, and you know, hopefully they'll determine from you at least, at the very least, maybe me as well, like that it's possible, and also it's you know you finish one, it doesn't mean you have to rush into the next one.
You know, I want to finish maxing now. That's what I want to do. That
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to get a 200 mil before I maxed, and I did that, and now I want to max. So we'll see if I finish it in 2024. I at this point in my account, I no longer tell like I no longer say like, oh, this is gonna get done at this time, because I never know. Like sometimes I travel for work, so sometimes I'll be gone for a week to at most a month at some points.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a whole lot of time, and like
I think that's a good principle even beyond RuneScape. It's just like don't say what you're gonna do, just do it, and then that'll be the proof of it.
yeah,
Because I spent a lot of time saying what I was gonna do, and and a lot of times I'd hit it, but there'd be ones that I didn't, and it's like it's just demoralizing for nothing. And you don't know what tomorrow will bring, like whether it's your work shift making you travel or a health issue in a family member. And so it's like, and then you know, oh, now you're burnout because you said you would do something and you didn't do it.
yeah.
It's like, I don't think that that's really what happened, and like you don't really know what really happens for people, you know, like people may know that you're not playing because you're doing a work trip and you're focusing on work, but like a lot of people aren't going to know that, you know, about every single person. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, no, I love it, man. It's cool seeing you achieve that. I'll be looking forward to seeing what you achieve next. Um, I like to celebrate other people's achievements
Well,
more
thank you.
than my own, honestly. I only record mine because I'm trying to archive it,
That
you
was
know.
that's what my video started as.
But
Just as an archive. That's why the first couple ones are just like slideshows.
yeah, like I
That
mean,
was
you're
it. That was
probably one of the only other UIM level threes that makes content. I know Mr. Frog does or did. I don't know
I
if
know
he does anymore.
I don't. I saw a video recently from him that he kind of doesn't really play that account anymore.
Yeah, he has a lot of other builds and stuff that he's working on. So I imagine it's probably not it's kind of met its cap for what he wants from it. But yeah, I definitely think that it's cool to see because like I make mine because it's an archive. Like a lot of people are like, why don't you make multiple videos per release content? Like, yeah, I could release content way more. I just wanted one for each 99 as I go along. I'm like, I'm hoping to finish the series someday in Max as well, but I'm not, you
Yeah.
know,
Same
I'm
thing for
not
me.
doing
Like
it that way.
I could make progress videos every week. I'd be like, hey guys, here's a 10-minute ramble, and here's the 500k mining XP I got
Yeah.
while I was doing shooting stars.
I just bought, you know, 50k mithril arrow tips. Like, and it
Thanks.
took me, yeah, I mean, that's one thing I realized. And I learned it from Mr. Frog's videos too, because he had so many progress videos and also other, you know, old players like level 3, combat 3, his video series to max as a normie level 3.
Hmm.
I've learned from other people like to think about what I wanted. And I really wanted like all that I get in between a 99. You'll just see everything that happens from me hitting a 99. And that's going to be other skills, whatever. And I'll just keep trying to do that. And then like eventually the series will end. But
Yeah.
like with Herblore, possibly changing with Valor more, whatever that new content's called, which might be a good thing. Sailing coming. Like, it seems like the series will just always get extended. So I'm hoping I'll finish the series this time as well and eventually max, but like I'm not planning like in communicating I am gonna max to people because I feel like that's way too presumptuous. But at the same time, you're so near it that it's not.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm far closer than I ever thought I would get. Herblore
cool.
is still like I think I have enough for like 89 right now, or 88 in my bag. So I've still got a lot of ways to go that way. But
yeah, that's still pretty good though, considering
one day.
I only have 80 in my bag. So yeah,
well,
that's the hardest one probably, right?
Crafting.
In terms of crafting. I don't know. I have giant seaweed in the other method, and I've done it, and I like it. So
fucking hate crafting.
It's like 50. I think I did RC first, so when I got used to like 20 to 40 KXP an hour first, it's like feels like everything else is more. Even Agi is more XP than that. So
that's kind of what motivated me as well. Yeah, like getting 30-40 mil RC XP. Everything else just felt so much faster.
Yeah, man.
That's the secret, guys. Just do a skill that gets you 20k XP or 30k XP for 1,000 hours, and everything else will seem so much faster.
Yep, and then you know what you do for that first one? You set really low barrier, realistic goals you can hit, like 100k XP a day or 1 mil XP a week goals. And then whenever you get over it on your counter, you always feel like you're dominating your goals, and that's more motivating. So you keep doing it. I actually think set more realistic, low expectation goals and then dominate them, and that'll help you be consistent more than setting really hard goals that like are going to be disrupted by the day to day or week to week or month to month.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do like a hard one and then you set realistic goals, you might get 99 mining and you've never done it before. That's what Maven did when we both started our accounts before we started Transcend. He had never even had 99 mining before. And it was like, we just set up spreadsheets for like how we could calc what day we'd get 99. And we just set up like little consistent goals. And then we would both hit them above them. But when we didn't hit them, we didn't feel guilty about it because it was like, well, we'll still get there based on this lower goal. So it was like, I think Sun Hurts Me did weekly goals for his 200 mil mining at MLM. And that's pretty cool because, something on a Saturday comes up, you got to go to your parents, whatever. Like we both got to go right now, go do things. Then it's not you'll still get there. So
exactly.
Yeah, do the hardest first and consistency over intensity. That's what hopefully people will learn. At least it's taken me a long time to figure that out.
Well, Frank, all that being said, I've got 2 final things for you.
Yeah.
The first thing is I did hit 69 agility on RS3, riding that bike.
Let's go.
I did do it.
The cycle.
Right in the cycle.
Did it on the cycle, the purple cycle.
Yes. Last thing is thank you for joining me. Happy to have you. We didn't really get to as much as I know we had talked about maybe getting to, which is okay.
Yeah.
Because in the future, a little sneak preview in the future, I do want to get a bunch of people, or maybe 2 or 3 people total, plus myself, on one cast, just talking about updates and maybe a more consistent like solo ramble thing about updates. I don't know, or like a duo ramble with people on updates instead of like the podcast format, more like a 30-minute, like let's look at what's coming up and stuff like that. But once again, thank you again, Frank. I appreciated you joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man.
I'm glad. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this one. We got a long episode this week. I know.
Let's go.
One thing as well, if you've made it this far, you may have noticed the casts have been a little bit less consistent. That's just like lack of people that I've reached out to people have said yes, and then kind of nothing's happened. Or like me and Frank here, we had it set up for 3 weeks in a row, and then every time something comes up, that's just what happens.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just about continually setting a next time, and eventually it happens, and you just have to be patient with things for that, and it works out,
And that was the big thing about
what's I learned that with kids. Like, you want to hang out with me, like I want to hang out too, but if I can't hang out because something happened with my kid, like it doesn't mean I don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
And it's the same with like your stuff. Like stuff comes up, but eventually it does happen, and it's you do get stuff out consistently in a sense long term.
So that being said, for the enjoyers of these casts who have made it this far, probably don't expect every 2 weeks in 2024, maybe 1 or 2 a month, maybe less depending on who I get. I'm going to be looking at some repeat guests, so I know, things like that will happen. But, the consistency will be there in regards to probably getting one a month. Other than that, though, hopefully you guys enjoy the videos that I do make. Hopefully you go enjoy the videos that Frank makes on his channel. They'll be linked in the description. Anything else you want to shout out before we head out?
No, it's been fun, man. Thanks for having me. Obviously, I enjoyed this. I enjoy your channel and watching your videos. So looking forward to seeing more of that stuff come out this year. And just thanks for having me, man. Honestly, I'm really a nobody, so it's always fun to get to talk with people. And just hit me up if you ever have any questions about anything Iron Level 3 or UIM Level 3 related as well. But thanks for having me, man.
Of course. And everybody, hopefully you have a good day, night, evening, whatever time zone you're in when you're listening to this. Enjoy your life.